Hopefully, if Google doesn't fuck us up.
I don't know. We'll find out soon enough.
So yeah, welcome to the second Panthcast with me, Sergeant Panther, and
Daniel.
Daniel. Daniel.
Gotta. It's my trademark. It's my trademark now. Gotta be underwhelming, unenthused introduction.
Yeah, but you have to make it this very specific way of being unenthused. It's like Daniel, Daniel, Daniel,
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yep.
Yeah, and also, and we're here to congratulate me for hitting 75 subscribers. Thanks everyone. Woo. And also to
Get one
apologize.
more.
Oh yeah, to get one more, then we then we have another excuse to talk about Fallout 76.
Yep. You get one more subscriber, and you get a notice from Bethesda saying you got banned.
Yeah. Has there actually anything been happening with Fallout 76? And I don't want to get into that again, but
I don't know. Just pick everything. Just think of something bad, and chances are it's already happened.
Probably, yep. But everyone, I'm sorry that I didn't. That even though originally the stream was supposed to be on Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Wednesday, it was supposed to be on Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, something technically happened in my area where like someone, I don't know, like an excavator hit a fiber cable, or like someone crashed into the distribution box, some bullshit like that, and I couldn't fucking stream. I couldn't even talk with Daniel. I couldn't even browse the internet on my computer because my like everything on the service, on that one service provider, just completely fell away. My house is like under two service providers. It's like T Online and Unity Media, and T Online was fine, but Unity Media just completely fucking failed. So yeah, I could still like do shit on my iPad, but not on my computer, and that sucked.
Yeah. Would you say the happenings of Mad Max was happening in your area? The internet was going out and everything?
Well, reading some of the comments on like the on like the problem website that that you go on to see whatever, like some of them really felt like that. It's like oh, the television is still out. We still don't have any fucking internet. It's like no.
Yeah.
And it was just
that
generally horrible.
Is that when like your local locality is like, damn it, my internet's out, let's go burn some cars? Or is that the kind of area you live in?
No.
Where it's like
No.
the energy saved for a soccer game is now transmitted to the lack of internet?
No, I think it's I don't know. It's just I don't know, because we don't live in a. This doesn't, that thing that wouldn't even work because as mentioned, we have like multiple service providers, so that's more of like a niche thing.
Yeah.
And even then, you could probably switch. Like I don't know, maybe they use your mobile data for something or whatever. Like sure, that's another bitch to deal with mobile data, but yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm also sorry for not having posted a video this month. It's like, fuck, I was actually working on one. I was, kind of wanted to make a video about why bronies were a thing. I still kind of want to make that. But kind of reading through the script, it was like, God, why the fuck do I have to summarize fucking the history of My Little Pony as a franchise? That just makes me fucking wince. It just makes me so uninterested just reading it. And then I also got like a drawing tablet, and I kind of really wanted to get into drawing and shit like that. It's like, yeah. it was generally a mess. Generally a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, like, if you go to my DeviantArt account, actually posted a drawing, and I think it came out accidentally. So, like, it's not the best drawing ever. It's like, it's pretty okay. Like some people favorited
Hmm.
it, and that made me feel good.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it might have been actually too good for my first drawing because now
Hmm.
I feel like I can't
Ex-
like anything I'm gonna follow up with it is not gonna look as good.
Yeah, expectations now.
Yeah, and that's horrible. Oh my god, now with the expectations and everything.
Yep. Now you got people who actually look at your
Not
deviant
like
art.
not like expert. No, actually, no, not so much that. More like no one actually followed me. It's just that I have expectations for myself now, and that's
Hmm.
That's way worse.
Yeah. Did you read the comment somebody left?
No, nobody left comments.
I'm in on your YouTube on the stream right now.
Other comments?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice. I'm so used to not there not being any comments. It's
Yep.
like for myself now. The dissatisfaction was immeasurable and my day was ruined on Wednesday. Okay, right. It's me. It's the review bro meme. Okay. Sure. Um
So would you say your at least your enthusiasm for drawing is kind of at a crossroad because you drew something too good, or
No, I just don't know how I did it
mm-hmm.
because I think if that environment was just really good and it really allowed the art to prosper and shit.
Uh-huh. Sounds like something. Sounds like my philosophy for drawing. You just bumble your way through a drawing and it came out good, and it's like, yay! I can't do that again.
uh, yeah, I don't know. That's why I kind of wanted to start getting into digital drawing, and that's kind of why I've kind of neglected making videos this month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let's actually get to the topic of this stream.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel actually got me to watch. Got me into Mad Max as a franchise, and just amazing to me
What did you?
that I just kind of watched all the movies now and played the video game, finished the video game. Well, mostly it's more of a open world. Like it's a Ubisoft game, so I have to do a bunch of bullshit. It's a collectathon, but the
Mm-hmm.
main things I've done, and I watched the movies, and I think now I'm ready to kind of discuss it on the stream. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
where we wanted to do it.
Yeah. Would you use the word pestering you about it to get play Mad Max? Would be an accurate term.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Which makes me happy because, like, for Fury Road, I've been telling you to watch that movie for like 4 years, and it
Mm.
makes me super happy that you finally got around to it.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. But let's not get ahead of
Yep.
ourselves.
We don't want to go berserk just yet.
Oh,
So I guess. So where do you want to start from here then on our adventures of Aussie land?
well, boy, why don't I
You want
just
to?
yeah? Let's just talk about the first one.
All right.
So what are your thoughts on it?
Uh, I I like the first Mad Max movie. I think it's probably easily my favorite one in the entire filmography. Because I think it's just because that grimy 1970s low budget, we had no money, let's pay
Yeah,
everybody with beer mentality is just so satisfying.
yeah, it is. It is basically anyone who doesn't know. It's basically an exploitation film. That means basically all the actors were exploited and not paid enough or something like that. I don't know what it actually means, but
Well,
yeah.
it's more of it has to deal with more with subject matter,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I know. I'm just
oh,
messing with you. It's basically an Australian. Hey, we're gonna get a bit of cars, get a bit of let's have a bunch of crashes and like tell the story of like this policeman, like it's the near future basically. It's like
1985.
yeah, Back to the Future time, and
Mm-hmm.
basically we're in the outback and you have like Australia is on the brink of collapse and they have like this special fucking in the outback like the streets are ruled by gangs and shit like that. It's kind of unsafe. Like
Everything's all on the cusp of falling apart.
yeah. Well, at least that's kind of the thing. Like sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's literally just people on a farm or something. Like everything looks
Yep.
completely normal.
Yep. About 40 minutes of the movie is just Mel Gibson on vacation.
Yeah. And that's just kind of what
And
makes it so intriguing and fascinating in contrast to like it's the original Mad Max, but it doesn't feel like what we associate with Mad Max.
hmm it's like it could be best described as reluctant cop becomes Mad Max in the last 10 minutes of the movie,
Yeah, yeah.
or in this case, you're mad.
It's like it turned mad and then he imagined the entire apocalypse. He just imagined the
Maybe.
apocalypse and now all the other movies were just in his head. That's kind of I know that's a cop out fan theory. It's like game theory levels, and I fucking hate that sort of mentality. But in this franchise, it probably makes the most sense because I don't know. It's just so hyper stylized and so thematically different, like from the first one. So you can sort
Uh
of conceivably see the first one happening in real life, but then all of the other ones are just clearly in someone's. Well, they're clearly works of fiction more than. Well, they feel more like works of fiction than the original. So yeah, I kind of support the original, like that theory of like it all happens in Mad Max's, or like in Max Rokitansky's head. By the way, side note, I think Rocket Ansky is kind of a silly name.
well, it's based off a real doctor, so
Yeah, I guess. And also the poster's really nice.
hmm which is kind of weird. You see the original poster for Mad Max, and like, hey, that's the the from the second movie, even though it's the first movie. You can see that overall look would make it its way into the second one.
Mm.
And I
Actually,
don't know. I think
I'm
what
gonna
I
bring
really
up the image now.
okay.
Hopefully everybody can see.
Ooh,
But yeah,
references,
mm,
images.
yeah, it's the first time I actually
Okay.
done this, so it's basically this cheap movie that just happens to just blow up.
hmm
Oh, it did, and I'm kind of happy that it did, because it brought us
Yep.
so much cool shit.
hmm
Well, and Thunderdome, but that's once again. Let's
That's
get to it. Let's get to Road Warrior first, yeah.
yep. You think is there anything else you wanted to say on the Mad of Max? Any thoughts to conclude it? Thought it was a decent origin for the character
Yeah, it was a
and his
decent
quest of anger.
origin for the character slash setup. Oh, it's all a delusion, yeah.
Which I guess the one thing I kind of wanted to ask you before we move on, what do you think of the fact that it takes place in a world on the cusp of falling apart, where you got average movies where it's either after the apocalypse, this one's like in the middle?
I think that's a really unique way. This is a really unique thing that Mad Max has going for it, because once again, it just kind of just makes us wonder like how does this actually happen? Where do the lines connect? Where do
Yeah,
the
which
lines intersect between this one and Road Warrior and Fury Road and Thunderdome? I guess. Come to think
mhm.
of it, how the fuck are they? Oh, never mind, never mind. Let's get to let's get to it when we get to it.
let's
Let's get to Road Warrior
let's
next year.
let's get to the black stuff.
Yeah, let's get to the black stuff.
So
And
this is the one that you personally like the most,
yeah, it has,
or the
and I like just the first half of it so much. It's it's just so grimy. It has this orangey brownish aesthetic to it. It has this. It has the engine. It has the leather. It has the chrome. It has the to it. This straight up things that I really fucking like.
Mhm.
And it actually, I think it transitions. Okay, it actually doesn't transition entirely smoothly. It just kind of, I feel like it stumbles a bit from that to the second bit with the town where Max helps um
Mhm.
the helps us with settlement or whatever. You have the gyro pilot and things like that. It just kind of all kind of tumbles into that scenario, and I think that makes sense because it has this weird. Like, you can't see it really telegraphed. It just feels more like something that organically happens. It's not like he stumbles into a totally different movie. He just stumbles into this situation because this is a wild wasteland,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of why I like it.
Yeah, I guess the kind of interesting thing too is like, what do you think of like the first one? Kind of gave you a hint of everything was falling apart, but then this one just opens up with some guy saying this is what happened. Like, what do you think of that? Kind of giving some hint of the world falling apart.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just. I don't want to say this is really the big most awesome fucking explanation with the whole it's all just in his head, but it's just I don't know, all of it just the kind of transition. It's how it says this is so artificial, so Cold War-ish. It's like, oh look, the fucking US and USSR just finally went to war and everything came to shit.
Really, you're not going to talk about the Persian Gulf War?
Was that even mentioned?
That's they mentioned it in the wiki,
Yeah, they
and
mentioned
I
it
think
in the wiki.
they mentioned it, but it's heavily implied that everything got started because obviously the first one
Mm,
is pretty much the reminiscent of the oil crisis of 1973 that
yeah,
kind of started everything. And
yeah.
it's just like, hey, what if that spiraled out of control in the Middle East, and then
Mm,
that led to the shortage of gas, everything
mm,
folding,
yeah.
everything falling apart, and then some.
Yeah, that's that I kind of like how they go from that um to this scenario because it feels like it doesn't feel as stylish as something like the original Fallout opening where it's vague enough, but at the same time it just kind of it's stylish in its own way where it's like mechanical. It's kind of a mechanical way of saying, hey, this is the apocalypse now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fiction, like kind of fiction stylish. It's more like mechanically stylish.
Yeah.
It's like there's no oil anymore. Let's just have everything coming apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like the movie. I like the action scenes. I like spoilers for the movie here.
Spoilers
It
for a
actually turns out.
40-year-old movie.
Hey! A lot of people are just discovering these movies. Like as mentioned, I
I guess.
haven't watched these movies, so
Great.
I I've watched these movies now, but I haven't watched. Like, if you asked me like a month ago, I wouldn't have known anything about them other than text things that you kind of get from cultural osmosis. Um,
Mm-hmm.
where was I? Oh yeah, spoilers. It turns out that they have this tanker. The ending of the movie is like a tanker. It's getting raided by what's his name, like Lord Humongous, Lord Humongous, Lord Hummus.
Lord Humongous and his Marauders.
Yeah, Lord Hummus and his Hummus people. Um, yeah, they're hunting this thing because they think that's where all the oil is that they're after, but turns out that it was actually just a decoy that Max kind of
Fell for.
yeah, no, that Max actually did he fall for it or was that planned? I don't
Yeah,
know.
because he didn't even know it till the end. Because when he looked at the
Right,
oil, it's like,
right.
what,
Yeah,
sand?
it's like
So he didn't
sand.
even let him on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was a really nice twist, and kind of the
Yeah,
end.
I think
I like the framing device at the end though, where it's like all like the wild child that he meets along the way also like gets together, and it's like I don't know, just comes
mm-hmm.
as an experience. It feels very much like a serial drama from the 1940s. It's kind of like what Indiana Jones was also inspired by, but let's not get a wait. No, actually, now we can actually talk about. We can actually talk about fucking all the similarities. and all the problems with Thunderdome. Because now it's
Really?
time to
You want to
actually.
go right? You want to go right into? Was there anything else you want to talk about Road Warrior?
I mean,
How it kind of inspired an entire generation of everything. JoJo wouldn't exist without it because there would have been no Fist of the North Star.
well, it's more of an aesthetic thing, and yeah, that kind of
It had
aesthetic.
kind of wrote the book.
Partially, yeah. It's but yeah, um, let's talk about Thunderdome instead. I'm gonna bring up the poster now. Thunderdome
Mm-hmm.
poster. Alright, so there it is. Oh no, wait, that's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Ah, well, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it because honestly, if you look at the actual poster for Thunderdome, yeah, it's basically just them trying to rehash like an Indiana Jones poster. Like, have a look.
Would you say it's more of a typical painted 1980s poster?
I don't know, just the kind of overall look it has. Just feels too much like Indiana Jones to be a coincidence. And yeah, I'm just gonna put them side by side. Hmm. Actually, here, there we go. I think it's just a bit too. Yeah, but honestly, just I think like the way it's to sum up Thunderdome is like it just feels like a rip off of both Road Warrior and an Indiana Jones film, and also Hook. It just doesn't feel like it
Which
has much of an
one didn't
original
exist yet.
identity. What didn't exist yet?
The Hook didn't exist yet.
Really?
Hook came out in the 90s.
Really? Wow! Wow! Amazing how much that movie feels like that, though.
Yep.
Huh? That actually that leaves me a bit flashed. But yeah, and that's just kind of you could say it was influential, but I just think it just I don't know, nowadays it just kind of feels like I don't know, like it doesn't have anything original to offer. Like let me just tell you why. Well, basically it opens with Mad Max on like a presumably after after Road Warrior, but I'm not sure about it.
It's 15 years after, if I remember from the production. It's supposed to take place 15 years after, which is about 5 years after the original Mad Max.
What? So it's 15 years after the original Mad Max and 5 years after Road
No, it's
Warrior.
20 years. 20 years after the original Mad Max. 15 years after Road Warrior.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Right. So but the film basically starts with him in like a caravan. He has like a headband. Like he hasn't aged in any way. So yeah.
Yep, they just gave him
Mm,
what's his face from Fantastic Four, white streaks in his hair to make him look older.
yeah. And basically he's like on a car frame or whatever that looks like kind of like a wagon, and
Mm-hmm.
it has four camels in front of it. And like, do camel like how the fuck did you get camels in the Australian outback?
I don't know. There was camels in the Road Warrior.
Really?
Yeah, when Humongous was attacking the refinery, there was a bunch of camels in a pin before they got killed or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought that was just a bit of oversight on fucking Thunderdome's part, huh? So, but yeah, basically he has that. But then there's the gyro pilot again, except it's not the gyro pilot. And he has a child now, except once again it's not the gyro pilot, even though it's the same actor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really confusing because now he has a plane, which seems like a natural evolution from the gyrocopter, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't actually recognize him within the movie, and it's basically a gigantic mess. And then he I think he bombs like the caravan or something.
No, what they do is they fly really low to it and they scare the shit out of Max. He flops out, and then the gyro captain jumps out of it or whatever, and then his
Oh
son
yeah,
pilots
right,
the plane, and then he takes that shit to Bartown.
right. That is sure. Right, that's what happens. Um, Basically, it's all of that convoluted thing, and then you get to Bartertown, which is basically the hub from Fallout One. And there's basically Tina Turner, which is this singer from the 80s that I don't actually know what she sung, what she was famous for, apart from being a singer. And she basically runs this thing, except probably not, and like she does a bunch of Indiana Jones shit, and like you know the typical Indiana Jones opening where you have like a bunch of action stuff happening.
A cold opening.
No, yeah, no, not like that. It's more like when you actually meet her, like
Mm-hmm.
like it's like, oh, you have to fight, like you have to fight her, and then she's basically like, you know, like an Indiana Jones villain, like oh, you've finished the test, you are worthy, or some bullshit like that. You know, any kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing that a real person would just say, yeah, fuck off with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just piss off. I'm gonna go now if you're gonna be like that. But yeah, because it's a movie and it kind of wants to do that Indiana Jones thing because Indiana Jones
Yeah.
came out like once again this movie came out in 1985.
Mm-hmm. Because Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 81, 82.
Yeah, exactly. And
And then
Temple
Temple
of
of
Doom
Doom came out in
84,
85,
84.
84.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
basically this entire
which
movie
I would
feels like the biggest
like Temple of Doom.
inspiration. Yeah,
Yeah. I think the way I would describe Beyond Thunderdome is it feels like an off-brand Steven Spielberg's kids movie.
yeah. Yeah, literally everything. Let me just finish up the plot summary because I think it's really worth. It's not
Discussion.
worth. It's not. Yeah, it's yeah. The whole plot flow is kind of worth discussion. So basically, then she wants him to like to like fight the engineer. I guess who's like a
Master Blaster.
yeah, Master Blaster, who's basically just kind of like two people. It's basically like a midget, like a tiny person, and
Mm-hmm.
like a big person with Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm. They control
Yeah,
what is it called? What do they call it? Under
I don't
City or what was it
remember.
called?
It's something like that. Basically, it's just a
Where
giant
they
pig farm, whatever, and
where
they use pig shit for methane,
mm-hmm.
and that powers Bartertown basically. And he's basically he thinks he can push levers because he controls it because he has electrical engineering or whatever, like
Yep.
knowledge in electrical engineering. And so they're in a squabble, and then she wants him to fight with him, and
Yep. She wants Max to kill Blaster so
yeah,
she can control Master.
yeah. Basically, she wants the Down syndrome person to be killed, but then like Mad Max actually gets the helmet that Blaster wears, gets it off, and then he realizes, oh, this is just a dude with Down syndrome, and he doesn't want to fucking kill him because that's just cruel and this and you know it kind of makes it feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So
I, mm-hmm. I like how this summary is kind of. You didn't even mention Thunderdome to why he has to get into Thunderdome to kill Blaster in the first place.
I don't even remember why. Like basically, the
Basically,
Thunderdome is just a cage match, so it doesn't isn't
yeah,
even as cool as it sounds.
because basically Tina Turner is like, I can't kill him in the open, so get Master Blaster into a fight, and then you
Yeah,
settle your differences in Thunderdome.
yeah, and the Thunderdome is basically. Well, I honestly love the German name for it. It's called the Donnerkuppel or something like that. It basically just means the same thing, or actually, yeah, it still means Thunderdome, but I don't know the way it sounds. It's just it has that weird German science edge to it. So I'm just gonna call it the Donnerkuppel from now on. So basically, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he is in the Donnerkuppel and he does a bunch of bungee jumping or something. It's like an action scene that feels more like you're watching Cirque du Soleil, and yeah, once again the helmet goes off. And then when he like Master and Blaster lie on the ground of the Donner couple,
Whoop.
he says, "Hey, we
Whoop.
had a deal. You didn't tell me about this."
Yep.
And then she's like, "What? You weren't supposed to say that. Now I'm gonna fucking send you to trial because you openly admitted that I send you to."
Hmm.
It's pretty
They do
stupid.
a
Yeah.
wheel of fortune of punishments.
Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune of Punishments, kind of, you know that episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender where they do this exact thing. Yeah, basically that. And honestly, the first thing I thought about that was really funny because it's like only 20 years after the apocalypse. So like a lot of the older people who would be like social democrats, like when Australia was still running, are now fucking content with just having people like the justice system be fucking based off Wheel of Fortune, and that's kind of really funny to me.
Hmm. Well, they probably all died when the
Uh,
water went away, but we're going ahead of ourselves.
sure, whatever.
So,
And
so he gets, what does he get? Exiled, and they put his ass on a
yeah,
horse, and they put a big giant clown head on him,
yeah, they do
and
this.
send him off into the.
Yeah, they do the thing that they did in that one South Park episode. Yeah,
I like how you're saying that's what they did in South Park, but in reality, it's the opposite.
I know, but I saw South Park first, and to me, it's always the thing. Is like, oh yeah, South Park did it because it's way more
Uh,
memorable here, and it's way more memorable in South Park rather than I don't know. It's just weird to me, and so yeah, he gets sent out, and then that's kind of where that thing ends, sort of, but not really. And then he gets
you could
to
say it's the first act of movie ends, and then
mm,
the second one, the second one begins.
yeah, the big oof. That's when he meets like a bunch of children who mistake him for like a pilot or whatever, like they crash the plane near the location where they are now, and they worship him like an old deity or whatever, and they think Sydney is some magical place that they call Tomorrowland, whatever the fuck a Morrowland is, and yeah,
Yeah,
and
because
mm, it's
you.
I don't know. I think that whole bit is stupid because it basically feels like short. Well, basically, I think the children have short round syndrome, where they feel like they shouldn't be in a kind of movie that's in a movie franchise that's been kind of been about like Mad Max, but they kind of
I
draw
think.
attention to it. They take attention to themselves with their
I think.
mannerisms and shit. Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say. I think the thing that I found kind of weird is how old these kids are supposed to be, and when did that plane leave Sydney?
Yeah,
Because what's the average age of those kids? Like 8, 10 years old.
something like that. Yeah.
So it's like, so after the water receded, so like after what, 2 years after Road Warrior, then those kids took off from Sydney.
I don't know if they took off from Sydney or
Because
if
it
they
would,
like
because it would,
one. Yeah.
yeah, because it would make more sense if the kids were the age of that one lady and the other older kids. They look like they're young adults.
Yeah.
That scene would be more accurate. Like that would be the average age of those kids if it's
Yeah.
been like almost 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
That's
then it's like, were these babies that were airlifting? But anyways,
yeah, it's a convoluted play. Basically, there's this colony of like children or whatever, and they talk in weird Australian slang, and that just kind of takes the attention from it, and then like it's a bunch of squabbling and basically the I don't know. It's way more complicated, and it has a lot more whimsical Steven Spielberg music.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like how this summary is bumbling through the summary because it's like you're kind of losing me and I freaking seen the movie. I'm trying to figure out what the hell you're talking about.
I know this is kind of like the experience I had watching it. It's not an easy to comprehend movie. It's not a very coherent movie. It's not a straightforward movie. Like, I mean, you can sort of get what the first two movies about. I can sort of summarize them in like two sentences. The first one was
World falling apart. Guy becomes mad.
yeah, because family got killed. Second
By a
one
toe
was
cutter man.
yeah. Second one was Mad guy. Mad guy tries to survive and saves a settlement.
Gets duped into saving a settlement is more accurate.
Yeah, gets into getting a settlement and then gets immortalized by the wild child or whatever.
Because
And
they said at the end the gyro captain became the chief of that tribe.
yeah, the Great Northern Tribe or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically how that one ends. How that one ends. It's but it's just so. I don't know. I just don't think Thunderdome is as easily kind of recapable. Just doesn't have that
Mm-hmm.
slickness. The whole story is not very
All right,
polished,
so
and it
I
ends
don't
with
know, I
some
think
kind of
it's
train.
I like how you completely skipped over the Captain Walker, and he's like, "Fuck this, I'm going to stay here. You kids stay here." And the other kids are like, "No, we want to go back to Sydney
Yeah,
or whatever." And then those kids go off, and then Max is like, "Fuck, I gotta go save his kids
yeah,
because he's Max." So, and then you
yeah,
have this obligatory of like, "Oh no, we're going back to Bartertown. Let's steal this rail car with Master
yeah,
and shit." And then you get a kind of a decent chase scene, but not really.
yeah. And the cars are really not as memorable either in this movie. And I heard people actually like this thing, but I like this movie like the most out of all Mad Max movies, and I don't understand why. I honestly don't understand why because like at least either they don't get the charm of like the like the other movies, or they like this sort of Spielberg off-brand thing.
Mm-hmm. You think it could be that a lot of the reason why a lot of people might like Thunderdome is probably because they saw that one probably as a
As
kid and they have
children, yeah,
strong nostalgia for it,
yeah, I guess.
which is really funny because I think we should be mentioned that I also saw Thunderdome for the first time last week or whatever or
Mm,
2 weeks ago when you saw everything too.
yeah.
Because like I saw the original Mad Max in like 2007 and then Road Warrior not too long after that.
Mm,
So it was weird going into something brand new that everyone had fond feelings of remembering.
yeah,
And kind of kind of like going it like you, fresh eyes, having
yeah,
no context for it.
yeah.
And I would call Thunderdome a entertaining but not a good movie.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. It's okay if you don't like that idea of Mad Max, like the kind of influence that it had, and kind of treat it as
Yeah,
its
because
own thing, but it just doesn't feel like it should be part of that legacy.
which I guess in a way, I guess if you want to get into it, you can kind of talk about the problem of productions
Yeah,
of why the
yeah.
movie turned out the way it
I
did.
was actually waiting for you to bring that up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so apparently it like someone who was supposed to scout the locations that George Miller used.
It was
Um,
when he was filming a mini series in
mm,
1983. His partner was doing locations and he died in a plane crash.
yeah,
So then he was kind of wrestling of like, should I even do Mad Max? And he was kind of wrestling with it because at the time,
yeah,
Thunderdome didn't even include Mad Max because I think like an original
yeah,
draft, it was just about a bunch of kids surviving the apocalypse.
mm,
Then they added Mad Max,
yeah,
and it kind of just gradually formed from there. And kind of Miller wasn't really into it, so he's kind of like, I got to step away. So then he had a co-director
yeah.
kind of do it. So it's kind of all over the place.
Mm.
But I think I was telling you, I think which is why I wanted to save it for the stream, is it's hard to just find production of the Thunderdome of like
Yeah,
everything that went into it because it's like compared to like Mad Max or the Road War or even Fury Road, it's just hard to find anything on production
yeah,
on Thunderdome. And and Thunderdome also, which it should be mentioned because you talked about the grittiness of 1 and 2. Thunderdome is the one that had a Hollywood-sized budget.
yeah, yeah. The people have been
Because
talking about that apparently. Like I've seen on the Wikipedia page, that was like other people consider it the high point or the low point of the franchise, and I tend towards the low point side.
yeah, because I think it's you read some things and it said like at the time it was like the most expensive Australian movie too,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of studio interference from Warner Brothers,
Mm.
and there was something that I read that made it kind of interesting because I think the biggest problem with Thunderdome is not that it didn't have a villain or anything, it's just it felt kind of weak
Yeah.
because like I think the best way I've described Tina Turner's
Yeah.
character is because she's a real famous actress or singer. They couldn't make her too
Yeah.
villainous, like or
Mm.
whatever. So it's like I got an image to maintain. So I felt like they kind of
Yeah.
neutered her character in the movie.
Yeah, and I don't, yeah, I can understand that, but I don't sympathize with that kind of line of thinking because honestly, like, how many people that we like now have like been really fucking dirty villains, like what Heath Ledger, fucking Danny DeVito. Like,
Yeah, but then again, this
either she
is
should
1980s
have,
Hollywood.
yeah, yeah, it's like mid 1980s, and it's as much as people like the 1980s, like I love the kind of aesthetic too, like like the neon and the color things, but like there's all like this children thing where it's like, oh, we still had to protect a lot of the, a lot of the values. The only thing we're gonna make it really plastic. We're gonna make it really formulaic after a while, and yeah, we're gonna make it
Well,
really
I think
safe in parts.
I don't technically agree with that because if you watch a lot of 80s movies and there's like shit kids say in those 80s movies, they're like, damn, you can't even get away with that now. Like you like
Yeah,
watch a movie like Monster Squad and it's like, fuck, you can't do half of that shit in today's kids movies.
you're right, but on
So
the
I
other
think
hand, you have like toy franchises that were really polished and were really clean.
yeah.
It's like a weird mirror of itself.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
let me redact that statement that I said and just say the 80s were very polarizing time for,
commercialized.
yeah, commercialized and also very polarizing time for children's media.
Yeah, because like that's the era too of like, hey, let's take movies, rated R movies, and make them kids movies or kids
Yeah,
shows, like Rambo, RoboCop, and all this
yeah.
other shit.
Fucking RoboCop toys, like
They had a
what?
cartoon for a while too.
Mm-mm. Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So it's weird because it's weird because I do agree like there was a bit of sanitation, but at the same time it's like
Yeah.
that was a kids movie or like let's turn this into a kids franchise.
Yeah. Let's
And
just say it's
that's what was
polarizing.
funny. Yeah, because in the early '90s, they did experimenting with doing like a what would amount to like a glorified FMV Mad Max game, and Mattel was going to sponsor it because like, hey, kids like Mad Max, and then they realized like, oh no, it's this violent movie, so then they pulled the funding at the last minute
Oh, that's just.
because apparently they didn't do their research.
I remember it was like a Mad Max game on the NES, but apparently it
Which
wasn't
I,
good.
if I remember, I think it was a reskin of another game, which I don't remember at the top of my head.
Yeah, I need to look that one up. But it doesn't really remember because, well, the franchise lay dormant for like, what, 30 years?
30 years,
Yeah, actually, no, it
almost
was
40.
yeah, 30. No, it was 30 years. Like after Thunderdome 85.
Yeah,
And
because they started production in like I think they started getting writing or doing the storyboards in 97, 98.
yeah, this time we're talking about Fury Road now, and that's the
But
one we
I don't know.
both like.
Yeah, I think well before getting to that, is there any other thoughts? I know you had a lot of thoughts on Thunderdome. Is there anything else you want to get out on that?
Uh, mm, I don't really have much
Like
more.
I
Could
think
you could you tell me something that I said because I can't think of it?
because I know one thing we both agreed on is one of the things I didn't like about Thunderdome was the stakes were so low because it's
Oh
like no one
yeah,
died.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was very, once again, it was
Kind of like
it ties into what we said. It's a bit sanitized. Was
because like what made
Spielbergized?
like yeah, because like because what made even Road Warrior kind of like edgy was like all those people who died at the end,
Yeah,
like how they just died instantly, and it's like, oh wow, you didn't see that coming,
yeah,
and that's what kind of made it interesting. But in Road Warrior, it's like, or not Road Warrior, Thunderdome, it's like I can't think of only like what two people died
yeah. If that, I don't even remember them dying. It wasn't
because
very
you
memorable.
had I can't remember if they pulled that one kid out of the sinking sand. I don't know if they did or not. And then there was a master or blaster that died, and
Hmm.
then that one villain for Tina Turner's who get kind of like
Oh
flipped them
yeah,
off.
right.
But and that was about it. That's the only person I could think of that died. Maybe a couple other people, but those are the only two that I remember.
Yeah, it wasn't very kill happy. It was, once again, it was
Mm-hmm.
very standardized. Like, even, oh yeah, right. Another thing. This Thunderdome was that was something I found out when I originally read the poster for the original Mad Max. When you when you look at the music, you're saying, or you're seeing music by Brian May, so you're thinking, oh, the guy from Queen, right? Well, actually, no, this is a completely different Brian May, who who did the orchestration for like Mad Max 2, and yeah, basically he's just an Australia. He was an Australian musician who died in, I think, 97. I think, I don't remember how old he was, but it still was kind of like not really die of natural causes old.
Mm.
And this movie that wasn't directed, didn't have music by him, didn't have orchestration by him, and that's just another kind of feature that just kind of makes it stand
That
out.
Yeah, because like talk about those opening credits. It just feels like a
Yeah,
typical like. It felt so out of place. Like I wouldn't mind it in another movie, but it felt so out of place for this type of movie.
yeah, for a Mad Max movie, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, the entire music was off from the movie, from the other movies, and obviously it has these elements of like, so it's basically like Road Warrior again, only worse. It's like a weird reimagining, with the gyrocopter
Hmm.
captain, that with the actor returns, and like he has a plane,
Well, I think
and
yeah. Well, I think I mentioned too why they even got him in the first place.
because they didn't have an actor that was anywhere close to his performance.
Yeah, his charisma or like like someone you remember. So it's like fuck it, let's just do him again.
Yeah. It's funny that they talk about charisma about a guy that wore fucking yellow spandex during Road Warrior.
Had a flower too in his jacket
Yeah.
and a snake.
Could have been a reference. Oh, I think Fallout 4 could have made a reference to that because I think in a suit they had a similar to that. But yeah, I don't know. It just was to go back to Road Warrior and in conjunction to Thunderdome. I think a lot of the costumes were a lot more outlandish, and like the cars
Hmm.
were less memorable. It didn't feel. It felt more like a movie that was designed to be like that instead of having like real world elements form together.
Which Yeah, which I think my favorite thing about the Road Warrior is the fact of what makes up most of the Marauders are former military and cops is the most fascinating thing
Mm.
about that to me.
Yeah,
Because how many movies can you think of that where they have instead of like raiders, generic thugs, they are literally former cops, and I think that's literally the most interesting thing about it.
yeah, that is. Another thing that I like about the visual design about Road Warrior, like the thing that stands out to me, is it's just that one guy that has like a military helmet and has a few mock medals on like a suit jacket, like a brown.
Oh, the guy from the finery.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
he's like, "Let me talk to him, and I can
yeah,
get him settled in that
yeah,
typical Australian way." And
yeah.
I remember he told me you really like that guy.
Yeah, I like that guy because he has his costume is literally just a suit jacket. You can clearly see it's a suit jacket with mock medals. You just sort of have
Hmm.
that to emulate that Patton look. You know that from the movie
Hmm.
Patton. George S. Patton. Like
Hmm.
what was his name? George Patton. Yeah,
George
George.
George C. Scott. You mean the actor or the guy? Because the actor is George C. Scott.
Yeah, yeah, and he has had this sort of that classic uh George Patton look. The famous U.S. general. Who. Oh, that had this other movie made about him in in like what year was it? 1970. Yeah, because and he basically was going for that look. And what I remember about that movie is like they actually used American tanks for like the German tanks and in the desert scene that was
Because
supposed to take place in North Africa. And
yeah, because I remember I think behind production they just couldn't get any of them for production, and it was just way cheaper to do American tanks
yeah.
for production.
Mm. Then I think that's a really nice touch that they just have a suit like what is his name? I'm trying to figure that out. Who was that guy with like what I even I'm just gonna Google it right now. What was even that? What could I put into that to actually you know find that guy to kind of show it to the stream?
I don't know if he even had as a name. Because like I can't remember if he was like the father of that one lady who was like the doctor who the gyro captain's like, hey, you want to escape with me? And she's like, nah, I'm good.
Mm.
Like I don't even know who the fuck he actually was within that group. I just remember him being a memorable character.
Yeah, this is that. I just kind of want to show because show that because it's a really really nice. Um. Just a really nice touch. That um. Wait, no. Are we talking about the gyro captain, or are we talking about the?
You're talking about that one guy you remember, that one
Yeah,
guy with the in the group.
yeah, yeah. Once again, I tried to find.
I don't remember what their group is called. I'm pretty sure like you go to like a costumes thing, they could give you an example, but I don't remember what they're called.
Yeah, the oil refinery. Um, Covered by Papagallo and his tribe.
Yeah. So be right back. I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Okay. It's kind of interesting. Like going on the wiki, apparently all the cars name that the leader of the tribe drives. That's actually pretty cool. Looking at the tribe, leader of the tribe, leader of tribe. I actually did find a photo. Right. Full sized image. Image. Come on. I'm just. I should have fucking got all these images before doing the stream, but I just didn't know we were gonna pull them up.
Back. Find him.
Yeah, dome cars. I'm just gonna put best movie cars. I found the cars from Beyond Thunderdome on the fucking list of like best movie cars, and like no. Yeah,
Which that reminds. There's a fun fact. I think during the making of Thunderdome, when they were doing like, here's a bunch of cars that's gonna be at the end. There was a car that was called the Mad Max 2, and they took it out because it was too. It looked too sci-fi. Well, that concept would end up becoming the Razor Cola and Fury Road, but I guess I'll save that for later.
um. Let me just get all the images right. Basically, what I like about that particular guy was that it's just. I think it's just such a nice look. The guy, I think it's such a nice touch. This guy here, it's just yes, and the way he just kind of does this sort of mock George Patton thing, the famous look of like the jacket and shit. It's just, I think it's just wonderful. I think it's just, it makes sense because that movie came out in 1970 and the movie takes place in the future of like, so maybe he just wanted to harken back to that thing he saw in the movie.
Which one? The character?
Yeah, the character in the movie kind of maybe just remembered seeing the movie Patton.
I guess because.
And I just think it's a nice touch. Yeah, I think now we can actually skip forward to Fury Road.
So the big one, or one of the big ones. So what do you think of Fury Road?
I think it definitely is up there. It definitely is up there. Once again, it kind of feels Feels like it's a bit of Mad Max 2 again, like a kind of a bit of a reimagining, but not quite.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes elements. It has sort of the same thing. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And it definitely does its own thing though, and I really like. I really like the effects. I really like the acting. I really like what they did with the sets. It's definitely the most grandiose movie, and it doesn't suffer from the same trappings as like the mock Indiana Jones thing that Thunderdome had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way like you hear the production how that movie had trouble. Like they had to fight tooth and nail with fucking Warner Brothers, like
Mm,
for that making of that movie. So it's amazing the movie turned out the way it did without all
yeah.
that studio interference.
Mm.
Because if I remember, I think I was reading like there was a one point where Warner Brothers was like, "Do you have to include the Citadel scenes?" And they were like, "Yeah." Like they didn't even want that in the fucking movie, if I remember.
Why?
Like the opening. Oh yeah, opening with Citadels and the ending. For some reason they didn't want it. It's like why?
Yeah, that's like one of the best things, and contrary to um Thunderdome, it just goes back to this sort of these are the cars from Thunderdome, and Fury Road just goes back to this sort of hey, they just build new cars out of old parts,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives the cars much more of an identity rather than just being movie cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I necessarily need to pull up an image because I think just become so iconic over the last few years. But yeah, there's no fucking competition. Like Fury just knocks Thunderdome in terms of car design just out of the fucking water.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember how long they spent making those cars too, because they made like over 100 cars for that movie.
Mm,
That's not including the multiple versions that they made, so then they can destroy them.
yeah.
So, like, I think they had 2 or 3 versions of the War Rig,
Mm.
and I think there's a couple other cars. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know what I think about the cars themselves though. I think they have this weird mix between it makes sense for the setting, but I don't know what to think about them. It's like they walk this line of looking really expensive but also looking really cheap. It's like someone spent a lot of time and effort making this sort of what do you call it? Um fuck, what do you call it when you artificially like make cars more rusty? Like
Um,
I forgot the term.
is it? I can't remember. There's a term too. I don't remember what it's called. It's like something like oxygenate. I can't fucking say
No,
it. It's like oxygenizing. I can't even talk. It's like because I think it was weird because in Thunderdome all the cars just felt like buggies rather than like actual cars
yeah.
retrofitted, and they felt like go karts. That's or buggies. Like they didn't feel like interesting.
Mm. You call that? It's rat rods. That was it.
There you go.
Rat rods. And it makes sense on this setting, but it's it's very unique and definitely very memorable. Is what I'm saying. I don't hate it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even have any negative feelings for it. It's just it kind of makes me feel weird. Like this couldn't work anywhere else.
Because wait, which one am I talking about? Are we talking about Thunderdome or
We're
Fury
talking
Road?
about Thunder. We're talking about Fury Road. Like for the cars in
Oh,
Fury Road. Like they couldn't work anywhere else.
yeah. Because actually, I didn't even know which movie you were talking about for a second. So to be honest, I was lost.
Oh no, Thunderdome was just let's make some buggies or whatever. Let's make some
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But like Fury Road, like the cars there couldn't work anywhere else. They're just too. Yeah, that's just a movie with aesthetic. It's just a movie with an
I don't know.
aesthetic.
The way I would describe the cars in Fury Road is by this time, considering how much time, quote unquote, has passed, is by this time each car is a specialty role. Like each car was designed for different. Like this car is designed to be was it a clap trap, or this one's designed to be like hook cars. This one's a pole car. This one's designed for raiding, and like I think that's what made like the cars different in Fury Road compared to
Yeah,
like the Road Warrior or even that is by this point you had car warfare.
yeah,
Like everyone has a role. And like you look at
yeah,
the Road War, you have a couple of them like marauding cars, but they kind of feel like they weren't working in unison. They were just
yeah,
more like, hey, let's run them off the road. But you get
yeah.
to Fury Road, there's a whole
Yeah, it's an
organization behind
actual.
it.
It's an actual like modeled after the military, and
Yeah,
yeah,
because you get like
it makes sense for the character of Immortan Joe, because
mhm.
if everyone and shit, he used to be John Moore in the Australian military, and then he just built this cult around himself, this cult personality, and it makes sense that he kind of models this thing after like I don't know revolutionary era warfare, like kind of Napoleonic era kind of roles of like cavalry and like having basically the flaming guitar guy as the drummer boy.
a drummer boy.
Yeah.
Hmm. And then I would go further back because they have lancers. Like with the thing
Hmm.
of like the cars where here's someone in the back, they
All
throw
right. Yeah.
thunderheads and stuff like that.
Hmm. Right, because they don't have any
So
any
like
kind
I
of
think it's
rifles. It's more like medieval kind
well
of, sort of, not
well
really.
I think they have guns, but I guess it depends which factions because it's like they have guns, but it's rare because they got the bullet for them.
Yeah, yeah. They have to be more careful because which is like an old saltpeter mine,
Hmm.
something like that. And I mean, ammunition is rare, and yeah, it's a very well put together universe, is what we're saying.
They had like what 20 years put together.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just like, hey, let's make a rip of Indiana Jones film.
Because I think like I said I think I mentioned my favorite thing about Fury Road is the fact of like we're just gonna do storyboards then write a script
Yeah, yeah.
because it's like it's such a visual movie. I think that's the thing I really like about Fury Road because like I'll go on about the production, but like that is easily my favorite thing about
Mm,
Fury Road is just how much like planning and the production of like we're gonna have this done, how all the action is like center frame,
yeah,
and how they like I don't know, she's just like it's just I'm just it's like I describe Fury Road as the equivalent of Titanic in terms of just how much shit they did to make that movie possible.
yeah, definitely.
From all the props and stuff that you'll never see unless you like pause it.
Mm,
Like even characters, like some of the characters have backstories that it's like they never go into besides visuals.
yeah. So you just have to go to the wiki. It's a bit cheap, but
Or
yeah,
go to the wiki or read the art book,
yeah,
which I have the art book, and that's how I learned about half these characters.
yeah. That's just the way this movie is, but it's good, and honestly don't know how to describe it without wanting to go without saying something that kind of it's me wanting to go into the nostalgia critic review because he addressed a lot of these points as well. But
Because
that entity is
I
like
don't
in
like, I
its
think,
own kind of worms.
yeah, because I think the way I would describe Fury Road is the way you summed it up is it's a really good movie, and it's hard to say more than that because it's just a really good movie.
Mm.
Because I can't remember, was there anything else that you liked about Fury Road besides the action stuff like that? Like, was
The
there anything from the
characters,
characters that you
the
thought were
characters,
interesting?
yeah, that's kind of where I um where I was going with this. It's Fury Road. I'm just gonna look at the thumbnail. It's just just I need to pull up the thumbnail and to use the thumbnail grabber and shit like that. So so yeah, it's like let's talk about the nostalgia critic fucking review of Fury Road.
Okay, so I think this is one thing we should mention is context because when you saw Fury Road, the review was the one that kept popping in your head
Yeah,
while watching it. I
yeah,
think that's kind of what made you think of that. Because for me, when I saw Fury Road, I had no context for this movie. I saw the teaser trailer and I'm like, oh, it'll be a good movie. I watched it and that was it. Like I saw it in the most I guess the ideal environment, but you saw it with like what 4 years later, but then you had the review.
Yeah.
So then yeah, I guess that leads into the nostalgia critic review.
Yeah, that's the way I watched it, and I didn't even see the review. I just had it in mind. I just because it's such a I'm not gonna say memorable. It's just such a weird video. Like I don't know. Maybe people are gonna be disappointed that I go into like something that's just a review instead of like talk further about the movies. But I think in regards to Fury Road is like it's like this discussion of like, oh, is this movie about sexism? Like the nostalgia critic always does he the nostalgia critic we've all like by now I think everybody on YouTube or like a lot of people on YouTube have heard about the Wall review and the way he just totally crashed and burned as a person with good faith. People have good faith in, and yeah, it's like this review kind of amplifies why because this review is basically not a review of the movie. It's more of a sure this movie comes up once in a while, but it's more of a discussion of like is this movie sexist or I guess is this movie for meninists or feminists? Is this
Mm-hmm.
like what's supposed to be the role of like the Furiosa? Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just realized we didn't even sum up the movie. It's like Furiosa is basically this like it's a high animal in Immortan Joe's food chain, basically.
She's part of the Imperator class, which is like the highest like ranking.
Yeah, basically she's a general or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and she makes it because Immortan Joe just he uses women as literal cows. Like he has a bunch of fat women as literal cows. Like there's this one scene in the movie that kind of sticks out to me, and it's like, wow, that's probably gonna get some deviant fan art. And yeah, basically
Yeah.
he doesn't treat women well. He does all this bullshit, and
Actually, I would describe it as he treats no one well because everyone is
yeah,
property to him, like all the war boys, because everybody has their signature, the Morton Joe's
that's right.
insignia.
Yeah,
So everybody, so I think the way I look at it is everyone's his property. No one's no better, no different.
yeah, but it's kind of the way they built their property. It's more like the men are basically his war boys.
There's Half-Life war boys.
Half
They're
Life.
there to die. Yep, they called them his Half-Life war boys.
Oh, I thought we were gonna make a weird reference to the Half Life game franchise.
No, I think it has to do with radiation because they all have like
Oh,
tumors and shit on them.
oh, right. Really? I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, yeah, like when Nux points to his like
Hmm.
tumors on his neck. Yeah, he calls them that. Yeah, everybody. That's why they call him Half Life because they all have like tumors and shit.
Oh, huh.
And that's why Immortan Joe wants a perfect air because everyone's all contaminated and shit.
Oh, yeah. That's
And
kind of a
but
thing.
anyways,
Apparently, people nuked Australia during the movies as well. It's never really addressed. It's never really like even in the It's more of a throwaway thing. Like the nuclear contamination is more of a throwaway thing that like happens once. It's like a bit of fallout never hurt anybody. It's like someone selling water, doing
that's from Thunderdome. But
yeah. Yeah,
I think,
Thunderdome
anyways,
says, and it's like, sure, whatever. And
anyways,
yeah, to go back to the entire thing, basically he treats his men like warriors, like ammunition, like cannon fodder, and the women
yep.
like cows and breeding animals.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's kind of the dynamic of the movie, and the nostalgia critic for some reason tries to make a point out of that or something. It's more
Mm-hmm.
like he's not like he's a good character or whatever. So what was his actual reasoning? I mean, I have a lot of problems with the nostalgia critic in general, but I think one of the major points is that he never fucking interacts with the community. Like any of the people who actually have a functioning brain, he never interacts with them. Like he never talks to them. He never does a discussion. Like he never goes into the comments and says,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, this is what I meant. This is." I mean, he doesn't even have a own fucking YouTube channel with which to comment on. So basically, he's just seeking shelter and distributing all the blame on other channel awesome members. Like he doesn't. I don't think he ever takes personal responsibility or interacts with other people much.
Mm-hmm.
And like even
Yeah.
even some of his points, like the way he does it is like he has other people speak his points for him, I guess. and it's never really comes out well. It just feels like, there's these people on YouTube who just don't want to address something head on, so they just make an entire thing around it and around it and around it. They use 1,000 words to say something that I could say, like a few words, like a few sentences. And it's not even that complicated what he says. It's basically like, I don't know if this movie was made for, like, I'm just gonna say what I think he tried to say. It's like, I don't know if this movie is sexy. Like, is Fury Road sexist? Like, if I had to put it in YouTuber clickbait terms, I think that's what he tries to say, and the obvious answer is no. Because this entire movie is like, is this movie sexist against men? Is this movie sexist against females? Yeah. And the answer is no, because both are used in this movie. And like,
both are used.
Yeah, both are downtrodden. I mean, everybody sucks, and everybody fucking gets fucked in the apocalypse.
And then the whole mess. I think that's what's weird about Fury Road is people are like, it's a man movie or it's a feminist movie, and I think everybody misses the message of the movie. And the message of the movie is like, we should all work together, regardless of gender or whatever. We should all just work together, better to make the world a better place.
Yeah,
that's literally the message of Fury Road. It's so fucking simple.
I'm not really one who does messages in movies, but I like more movies to be more of a thematic thing that you can extrapolate your own thing from, rather than we need to all work together, whatever. But yeah, this movie, if I had to put it like that, it does feel like that. It follows that message, it follows that line of thinking, and I liked it. I liked it very much for kind of the integration, for like the characters, but of the what do you call him? The Morton Joe, like his breeding wives or whatever. What do you call them? His harem. And
you might want to. I was gonna say you might want to adjust your mic because you're popping in and out.
Oh, sorry. Basically Morton Joe and his harem. And and Furiosa. And Max. I think the integration between these characters is really good. The only problem I have with the movie is that it doesn't use footage like to explain this backstory of Mad Max. It doesn't use footage from Mad Max 1. I mean, okay, that footage is nearly 30-40 years old now, but
it wouldn't make sense either because anyway,
Tom Hardy.
Sorry, continue your thought.
It's Tom Hardy, I know. I mean, I didn't know if Tom Hardy needed to be in this movie or if he literally needed. If he just...
Well, they couldn't get Heath Ledger because he was dead.
I guess, but yeah, my point is kind of... I kind of would have liked to see it if they just used kind of Mel Gibson again as like, as like an old person, because, I don't know, just things... I think it makes more sense for the time frame. Kind of show this world has aged, this is actually a continuation and not kind of a sort of reboot. But then again, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It makes sense because like Immortan Joe is played by the same guy who played Toe Cutter in the original, and it's just such a nice
same character, but same actor.
Yeah. And I think it would have given a bit of continuity, with a bit of bit more substance to it, and honestly, if it just handed the torch over to Furiosa or something, like as like a character for future movies, I would have actually accepted that. Like, it's not a fucking what's his name, fucking annoying boy from Transformers being the new Indiana Jones. No,
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, he will not divide us, guy. Like, I like Furiosa much more because she's a character. She's lovely, and that's just this entire movie. This movie is just lovely, and the nostalgia critic just kind of ruins it with his shit skits, with his shit humor, and by not even talking about it, more like talking something around it, sort of kind of reenacting it. But I mean, I don't need reviews necessarily to literally reenact the entire movie or like summarize the movie, like going bit for bit. But then nostalgia critic has been done that has just never evolved this formula. So Okay, it does have it in. Sorry, I've just been going on my throat kind of so. He did actually involve. Let me go back to that statement. He did evolve his formula, but in all the wrong ways. Like instead of just summarizing the movie now, like literally going through it bit by bit, he now reenacts the movie. He reenacts the movie, but poorly, and it's not really too funnily because his editing is shit. His costumes are shit, and he kind of rides off like the joke is supposed to be that it's poor, I guess, but it's not really good enough. It's not really clever enough. It's the performances don't really gel well enough. So yeah, it's pretty much totally worthless except to gawk at and talk about. Like that's what I describe the nostalgia critic as right now. And his entire review basically takes scenes from the original movie and makes them completely kind of void. It just kind of taints it. It just kind of makes me think of. Well, that's partially the reason why it kind of looked. I kind of didn't have as much fun as I could have had watching Fury Road for the first time because I just had these shit scenes in the back of my mind, and that's like, oh yeah, this is how they were supposed to look. And I couldn't really get my mind to focus on the good scenes when I just had the shit scenes in my mind.
Yeah.
It's you watch a shit parody of something and then you can't really watch the original if you haven't already watched it. Because it will still just stick in your mind. So that's one reason. Partially, the other reason is because he just does this entire dialogue or whatever, like this kind of video that should have been in like an editorial or whatever, or not, maybe not even in an editorial. It's more like if if the message of his review, quote unquote, would have been an editorial, it would have still been flagged because, as you said, it's such a simple message, it's such a simple point, but he just fucks about. He just does this entire thing, and you're not really sure what the fuck he's on about.
Yeah.
And that just kind of taints my view of the actual movie for me. And then, yeah, that's just.
I think that reminds me because you were talking about some of the characters. The funniest thing I didn't realize until I was looking up like recently because we were talking about doing this as a retrospective was they're talking about Furiosa and Charlize Theron did a bunch of like prior to putting on the role. She's like, I got so sick and tired of doing like a million fucking interviews where I had to fix my hair. So by this time, she's like, I just want to fucking chop it all off. Because during the making of Mad Max, you're like, what fucking hairstyle should we give her? We don't fucking know. And then Charlize Theron was like, hey, can I chop my hair? And George Miller was like, that's not a bad idea. Do it.
Yeah, yeah. This kind of I think this is kind of what makes this movie good. It's not. It's just so utilitarian, I suppose. Like a lot of this thing is like it's not movie style. It's styled. What if this world actually was like that? And kind of the movie production kind of feels like it reflects that. Like the movie production, like the movies work because the movie production is so close to the actual environment. What's funny about it is like the thing that Daniel always mentions to me is like how the original filming location in Africa like turned into a flower field or whatever. Or no, the original location in Australia turned into a flower field because after 30 years it finally rained there, and it was like everybody was surprised and had an existential crisis over that.
Yeah. I think what's kind of interesting is one thing I wanted to mention because you were talking about it was the plot. Because one thing that stuck out in your mind that about the nostalgia critic review was talking about how there's no plot in Fury Road; it's just action. And then you mentioned something about how to him, like he said, Thunderdome was a better movie because it had a better plot.
Yeah, right.
And that was the one thing I remember you told me about it.
Yeah, he said that. He said that like Thunderdome has a plot, but it's not a good, well told plot because once again, it just feels like two movies kind of spliced together. And Fury Road is like his end conclusion is like, oh my god, I got it now. I'm just gonna make a nostalgic impression. Oh my god, I get it now. And then it just zooms out and he just has a meep thing and shows his shit models, and it's like a Roadrunner cartoon, and it's like, sure, if you want to compare it to that, it's more of a actual chase rather than a you look down upon it cartoon. it has more weight than a cartoon, but I guess sure, like the comparison isn't entirely invalid,
Mm-hmm.
and it has sort of that fascination of like a chase scene that has a lot of things going on in it, and I guess that's a way you could make it understandable, but it's not like you couldn't already understand that from the movie. Like if you really think too
Yeah.
much about what the appeal of that movie is, then you don't really get the appeal of the movie. You have to just watch it and just kind of look at the aesthetic. You only kind of have to kind of think, hey, look, this looks cool. Let's just put it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it's worthless. In fact, he made a pretty good analogy to it like, in the actual video. When he wasn't talking about meninism and feminism and all that garbage.
Mm-hmm.
He says that this movie has just enough for you to connect all the dots. Like it deliberately is designed like that. Fury Road is designed to have all the dots, and you just have to connect them. Whereas a shit movie would just not have them at all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's basically it. That's the movie. That's the appeal. That's what you get. You get appeal from reading the wikis, from watching the movies, from just experiencing it. Not talk about it. Not talking about it like Citizen Kane or whatever. Just watch the movie.
Yeah, I think what makes also Mad Max interesting is how there's only 4 movies, 2 games, and like a couple of comics. There's
Yeah,
not too much out there, and I think that's what made it so interesting to watch,
yeah.
especially for you to ingest.
Hmm.
Because like you get like something like Lord of the Rings, and it's like here's a bunch of fucking comics, here's a bunch of books, here's the fucking Cimmerillion, all this horse shit you got to read. And
Yeah.
Mad Max is like, here you go, here's a nice,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
easy watch, but here's
It's so
4 movies.
fun to experience. It's so easy to approach, but so deep as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of brings me to the game. I think that's a good transition.
Yep. Because I think, yeah.
Go on.
Because like, how would you describe your experience with Mad Max? You told me you picked it up, and it's like, it's interesting, and you kind of never picked it up again. And then I
Yeah.
started, or not something like that. I remember you said you got it a while ago, and
Yeah.
you kind of just dropped off of it.
Yeah, I didn't really care, but then I actually did. I actually did kind of care after Daniel told me, "Hey, this thing is cool. This thing is." I really got into this thing. I got into car mods, and it's like, oh, so this game actually seems to get good. And then I got into like I discussed it with Daniel. Like I kind of got into the game itself, and then I got into the movies. And I say this game is best experienced definitely with um watching the original Mad Max in conjunction with it.
I think you described it as a good companion piece. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. To the original, it just feels like a good the good continuation. It's once again it also has kind of Road Warrior rehash syndrome, I guess. Well, not really rehash, more like Road Warrior again syndrome. But it's not. But listen, but that's not really something that drags this franchise down. That it kind of tries to reinvent Road Warrior again as like a sequel to the original. Because let me just summarize all the. Basically, Mad Max is its own thing. It's a good exploitation movie, and it's definitely a good foundation for something bigger. It's definitely a good movie on its own. It's something great for something bigger. Road Warrior is like like a serial drama, like a piece of a serial drama that kind of functions as a good sequel. Thunderdome is like once again doesn't feel like it's as well a continuation, but it's kind of it's doing its own thing with like the original kind of being attached, whatever. And Fury Road feels more like a wow, now this world has gone to shit, and let's just make this entire action movie around it. Like whereas Road Warrior was more of like a bit of serial drama, like an hour-long serial drama. That was also an action movie. Fury Road is just an action movie within the world of Mad Max, within a continuation of the world from Mad Max. And the game feels like, again, a continuation. It doesn't really call back much to it. In fact, it doesn't. It just sets you on the way of being, with the Interceptor, the classic car with the turbocharged V8. That's how the game starts. It's sort of the sweet spot that also Road Warrior started with.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just goes and it kind of explores the character a bit. It just kind of has its own story, like why Max can't trust anyone because he kind of lost trust in other people. He tries to shut himself off, and then he has the opportunity during the game to okay, you as a character you don't have any agency in it, but as a character he would have the opportunity to actually get with his new woman and his new child and actually start a new life.
Hope.
But he just, Hope and Glory are the names of the two because of course they are. And he doesn't. He just wants to get after the big bad guy, after Lord Scrotus. Yes, seriously. And Hope and Glory are killed. They're once again removed from him. Why? Because of his own decision making. Because of his, I don't know his furiousness, his madness, his untamedness, his own trying to chase the ghosts of his past, it's just so interesting to the experience, and like after watching the original, like it makes sense. You don't really need to watch any of the other movies. You don't need to watch Road Warrior. You don't need to watch Fury Road. And you definitely don't need to watch fucking Thunderdome. But if you watch this in comparison, or like as a companion piece, it just works really well. It just works really well, and I like it. The story in this, the way the game is actually set up, the way it's actually designed, is pretty shit. But it's just workable enough where you wish it had those things fixed. And if you play it right, you can have a definitely better experience. My thing is like complete the story, and then do all the missions.
Complete the story as fast as possible, then do everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the beginning you're very, very weak, you're very underpowered for an arcade driving game. But it kind of has its own weighty feel to it, and when you actually get the Interceptor back, or the Black on Black, as they call it, whatever. Well, even the fucking Pursuit Special, it has a couple of different names. Once again, it's kind of... Mad Max is a series that has a loose canon, whatever. You don't really need to pay too much attention to it. But when you get the car actually back, you have your souped up car that you've been kind of driving throughout the whole game. You're just wondering, wow, this car is kind of underpowered in comparison.
Compared to the Magnum Opus.
Yeah. I still think it should be Magnus Opus Magnum, but that's just me, Latin, whatever. Yeah, so just complete it so that you have a nice game flow, and then do everything you can in the game world after you completed the story, because it's really fun. Well, apart from the mines, the mine missions are pretty shit.
The mining, the one where they made the dog character a glorified mine detector.
Yeah, and also, by the way, for anyone actually listening, Mad Max the game has a furry wedding. It has a cringy furry wedding. If you've seen a furry wedding, then it has a cringy furry wedding. That's how I'd like to describe it. It's actually more of a dream sequence with just the head of the dog being on a human body or whatever, but I just can't resist making a comparison to a furry wedding. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think I would describe the game as having a very run-of-the-mill story, but kind of some interesting concepts.
Yeah.
But I think where the fun of the game is the world itself.
Yeah, the world itself and the mechanics. Yeah. The organic mechanics.
It's fitting.
Yeah.
That's still my favorite term for a doctor in this
Yeah.
universe.
Yeah. So
I think I don't know, like what would you describe that's more interesting about the world? Like, because I really like this world, and I think it has one of my favorite post-apocalyptic depictions of the world
yeah.
in this game. Because like, what's I think we should bring up the comparison that you brought that made me think of the game differently.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because it didn't occur to me.
yeah, come on. You actually no, no, I'm going to say it. It feels like what Fallout is missing. It feels like what Fallout should be. It feels like all the grit, all the things that the original Fallout 1 and 2 had was just scooped up. You know, all the shit that Bethesda discarded and was just clumped together into one game. All the fucking apocalypse, all the dirt, all the grime, all the weight that
All the
Fallout used to
bleakness.
have. Yeah, all the bleakness, all the shit that Fallout used to have. You know, that Fallout was inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
That's this game. That's this game. It doesn't have much of the fun or the the funny writing. It has fun, but it doesn't have the funny writing. The writing's actually kind of it's workable. It's
It's
interesting enough.
workable
Yeah, and
because Avalanche isn't exactly known for
yeah,
their stories, so.
yeah. So it feels like this is what Fallout should be, or like in parts what Fallout should be, but just isn't anymore because Bethesda doesn't like it because it's not what Bethesda wants from it. It wants to be like a weird 50s ish thing instead of a something that was equally inspired by the 50s, the 80s, kind of the 70s grunge look. This is where all those parts went that aren't that aren't 50s whatever. This is where it went, and if you're a Fallout fan, you should definitely play this game because it feels like what Fallout should be now.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing too is this game came out in 2015, the same year as Fallout 4.
Yeah. And it's more in line with the actual original two Fallout games than that game was. And for anyone who likes Fallout 4, I got fucking 1900 hours in that game, so don't come at me saying I fucking hate it. I don't. It's just it just doesn't feel like Fallout anymore. It feels like Fallout Bethesda ZeniMax trademark, but it doesn't feel like
Mm-hmm.
like buy gamers for gamers interplay Fallout.
Yeah. It kind of describes me as like somebody who doesn't watch post-apocalyptic would be like, yeah, that's a very bleak universe. Who's never seen anything else?
Yeah,
Is you know,
yeah,
and like that's when you describe it like that, that's made me look at the game differently because I did I cause I knew I liked it, but that didn't make me think of it in that terms of like that you need a tetanus shot after visiting this place.
yeah,
It just feels grimy and just feels like a shithole
yeah,
in a good way.
yeah.
And that's what I just love. Like I love just how far gone everything is. Everything just falls apart, and like even the section because I think I mentioned like one thing I like about Mad Max, the game, is that it's all in a desert. You know, you got the dried up ocean, and I just like it the way the colors are rendered.
Oh,
It's like this is
wait,
really cool.
everyone, listen to him now because he's gonna repeat it ad nauseum. He likes
I
the
am
desert.
going to.
He likes the desert. He likes the colors. He likes the way the lighting works, and yeah, it does have a really good environment. Like, look at this fucking screenshot that I used from the game. Like, this isn't an official screenshot that was doctored. This is literally just me using the photo mode in the game.
Oh, that photo mode! I freaking love it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And then like I think the thing that I think my favorite part like there's like I think we'll get into like what I don't like about the game, but my favorite part of the Mad Max game is picking up the historical relics. Like that is my favorite part in the entire game,
Mm,
next to the driving. Because
yeah,
just getting little snippets of like why this world fell apart, and it's like wow, this just it's so far gone. You just can't think of like it fits in the world of Matt or like Max and how he's so far gone, and it works in compendium of like this world's so far gone, and it reflects the character as well.
mm,
Where they talk about the big thaw, or I think they talked about the war in the was it the oil war? They talked about the big thaw, then the ocean retreating, then everything just running out
yeah,
and almost like cartoonish everything's gone moment, but I
yeah,
think it's more. like kind of like you, like I don't treat it as a literal interpretation. I always treat it as a metaphor, kind of like how
Yeah,
Mad Max was a metaphor for the oil crisis.
yeah, exactly. This is kind of the way you have to approach this apocalypse. It's a very good exercise for both of us, both Daniel and me, to just think of this as this is what settings in movies should be, like an analogy or like something, a direct reference to something that it's not that's we don't have to put that much effort into it, but that's just kind of interesting and cool and works as the thing it's trying to be. Because that's also
Mm-hmm.
something I think is kind of lost. Like, what's Fallout now? Except the cash cow. Like in the original two games were I think the only reason like a lot of that shit was in there, like even the reason it was like a post-apocalypse was like because it was like the 1990s and everybody was kind of laughing at the idea of a nuclear war, of like the way the 50s
Mm-hmm.
used to be scared of like a
Yeah,
big
because
nuclear war.
by the '90s, the most biggest things in the apocalypse was environmental
Yeah, it was.
than nuclear war.
Uh, mm, an environmental apocalypse. Don't you want to bring up a certain movie now?
A certain Kevin Costner movie. Which one? There's two of them.
Yes. Ooh.
Are we talking about Mr. Postman? Where's my bill?
Oh,
Or
you better wait a
where's my
minute. Wait a minute.
or where's my where's my Water World?
Fucking Waterworld.
That movie is terrible, but it's
Yeah,
entertaining. It's basically what Thunderdome wants to be, where it's campy and
yeah,
lame, but it doesn't have that. Well, Waterworld is the opposite, and it's so
yeah,
campy and it's enjoyable. It's
yeah.
stupid, but it's also got the spectacle to back it up.
Mm,
Because
yeah,
I think you should look up clips of Waterworld. Is like some of the best special effects is the attack on the atoll. And when you look at that movie, it's like, yeah, that's
yeah,
why you don't film movies at fucking sea, because
yeah.
it's a shithole.
Let me just say
And
something again though. Let me just say something again though. The reason I never watched like everybody out there, the reason I never watched these movies is because the nostalgia. Like I watched so many nostalgia critic reviews, and when I started learning English, when I started to get really into the Anglosphere, that now I never want to watch these movies because he does such a shit job at conveying them, at making you feel like this movie. Oh yeah, this movie is for that. He just makes them sound so fucking shit because he likes to pick apart everything, and he doesn't do a review of it. So you just think, oh, this is just a shit movie, but with a bunch of shit scenes. You know,
Mhm.
this is why I never watched Child's Play. This is why I never watched this and that. This is why I never watched Waterworld because he just did such a shit job at conveying these movies. It's just,
Mhm.
it's just,
I think
it's just pretty much all the tiny bits. It's like when people say in his fucking in his wall review where he says like, "Oh, this entire thing is supposed to be a love letter to Pink Floyd's The Wall," and it's really fucking not. Everybody's saying it's not. That's literally what all his reviews are. Like, it doesn't. He's shit at conveying whether or not he likes these movies. He's just saying, yeah, I guess I kind of like this movie," but then he just says that in like 2 minutes at the end,
Mhm.
and he spent like 10, 15 minutes fucking tearing this movie apart in its scenes. So, honestly, what the shit? He was just so bad at this thing, and this is why I'd never watched Waterworld. Oh god,
Mhm.
I just want to do an entire podcast riffing on nostalgia critics so fucking much. Oh, but yeah, right now I'm just gonna sprinkle it in.
Yeah. Gosh, I was so funny to get a sense of how old I was. I was 4 years old when fucking Waterworld came out, and I remember seeing
Uh,
that shit in theaters.
wow. Huh.
Because we used to go to the movies all the fucking time, and I remember seeing a lot of movies in theaters, and like Waterworld was like the spectacle movie, like wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I also went to Universal Studios in California where they had the Waterworld ride, which it's really cool. It's like the way I would describe the Waterworld ride is basically like seeing a real life action movie play out before your eyes. It's really
Oh,
cool.
is it still around?
Yep,
No.
it's literally one of the most popular attractions at Universal. I think they
Wow.
have it at all their locations, which is funny because everyone knows
Mm,
Waterworld was a colossal flop, but the
yeah.
fact that its attraction is more popular than the movie is funny.
Well, Song of the South. Need I say more?
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Do you want to talk about Uncle Remus while you're at it?
No, the reason I'm bringing that movie up is because like there's this like waterlog ride at Disneyland or Disney World or whatever, based on around that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess in
What's it
like the
called? Is it
animated scene,
called?
Song of the South.
Is it called? Is it? I thought it was called Splash Mountain or
Splash,
some
yes,
shit.
Splash Mountain. That was it. Yeah, Song of the South, Splash Mountain, and it's like everybody knows Splash Mountain. I guess if you're familiar with like Disneyland or whatever. I'm not gonna treat you. I'm not gonna treat my audience as if they knew everything about fucking the U.S. and shit, because I don't know everything about the U.S. and shit. So I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's basically there's this ride in Disneyland or Disney World or whatever, in one of the Disney parks called Splash Mountain. It's based around this movie, The Song of the South. Yeah,
It.
it's like a movie about like tales, like a storybook.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's basically. I think
Yeah.
if I remember, it's like a.
It's a storybook
It's like a bad
thing.
rendition of like
Yeah,
Uncle Tom's Cabin, but not really.
yeah, yeah. It's like an old story from like the Dixie, southern United States part, southeastern
Mm-hmm.
United States, if you count, if you think about the United States in terms of what they are now and versus whatever, because New Mexico, Arizona doesn't really count towards. Yeah, it's the Dixie part. It's the Dixie part of the U.S.
South.
East, southeast. Once again, it's not the entirety of the southern United States, so yeah, it's the
Mm-hmm.
southeast. It's the Dixie part and like stories from that region, and yeah, they try to make a character around that, and people say it's racist, even though it's not really racist. I guess if you actually watch the movie, it's just a bit racially uncomfortable. I guess because
Yeah, I think
people,
even for the time, Disney was like, "This is
yeah,
uncomfortable. Let's pull it from
yeah.
theaters." Even for the time, it was considered crappy.
Yeah, because the US obviously are very sensitive about like basically it was like a movie. If there was like a movie that was set in like 19
An idealized version.
no, to me like the equivalent how I'd see it is like if there was a storytelling thing going on in like 1938 in Germany, like if they made a movie in Germany about like some person telling stories in like 1938 or maybe 1946 or something like that. A very time period that was very poignant of like we have to deal with this big catastrophe, this big thing that we're both embarrassed about, the Holocaust or like the liberation of the slaves, the US Civil War. Shit like that, that's
Like,
still
I
the
guess.
nations are still kind of grappling with today.
Okay, so what are we talking about again? Just to keep on context of what we're going.
We were talking about Song of the South and we're talking about
Oh, okay.
Splash Mountain and how that movie was basically kind of a flop or whatever. It's kind of not really that great, but it's still one of the most popular like kind of theme park rides for the studio theme parks, whatever they have in the
Yep.
US.
Even though they want you to forget that movie existed.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about that movie, honestly. But
I think the
it's
best
not the
way.
focus on this podcast. But let's talk about it for like 2 minutes.
I don't know. I don't know too much about the movie because it looks
Yeah,
boring. Like that's like to me that strikes me as like old people. Like let's go watch Davy Crockett. Like it's
yeah,
boring.
that it's
And
that. Yeah.
I've never had no interest in Song of the South because it just strikes me as boring.
Oh, you never
Like that.
had
Like
no
it's so.
interest. You never had no interests.
No, I do not have no interest in such films.
Yeah, it's basically that Davy Crockett kind of thing that's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Like even as like someone would go like this is uncomfortable racist. Like even as that angle, I'm like it's kind of
Mm,
boring. It just strikes me as just an
yeah,
old movie. Like there's nothing like it's not no
yeah,
freaking like oh we're roast about Jim Crow shit from
yeah,
Dumbo. Like it's not that fun, interesting to talk about.
yeah.
It's more of like
Literally
boring.
Jim Crow.
Like
Literally Jim Crows.
yep.
Mm.
So
So we're gonna go back from the Song of the South to the Song of the South ride to the Waterworld ride to Waterworld as a movie to Mad Max.
two
Let's
the
go back to
game.
that. Yeah.
So
I want to
What
say
else are we gonna talk about?
this.
I'm trying to figure
You
out where the
should
hell we left
definitely
off.
go. You should definitely go and play that game. Play Mad Max the game. It's on sale. I got it for like €6 or whatever. It's not that
Yep.
expensive.
Yep. It's always on sale. I got it for $5 too, so it's always on sale.
Yeah, $5 for €5, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like £4 if you want to be like that.
Yeah. Which is weird because like I'm not really a big fan of the generic open world collectathon, but I
Yeah.
don't know why it feels entertaining. I think it's because the world's interesting, so I don't mind doing it.
Mm.
Like even the boring, like somebody would call it like the Arkham Asylum combat, which it's repetitive, but it's entertaining enough to be
Yeah.
engaging.
I didn't like the combat in Arkham Asylum as much as I do like it in this movie. In this game.
This
In
game,
this movie
because
game.
I think we talked about it. It's like what makes it interesting is that it felt like impactful, like it
Yeah.
felt like because Batman obviously he quote unquote doesn't kill anybody with his bat
Yeah.
napalm, and here it's like it's not a concern.
Yeah, here's not a concern here. It's that kind of thing. It's literally fucking pushing someone against the wall and shivving his throat open.
Mm-hmm. And then I also want to talk about my favorite part about the Mad Max game is his shotgun is the loudest fucking thing in the game when you actually fire it, which I really like.
Yeah.
Because it makes it feel like impactful. Because it's funny because I was trying to remember how many times does he actually fire his shotgun in the movies? I think I counted 4 times in all the media.
Mm.
Because I think he fired it once in the original Mad Max, twice in the Road Warrior, and once in Thunderdome, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, because the thing with Mad Max is that it's not a gun movie. It's not a not a shoot. It's more of a, despite it being an apocalypse, it's like something about Thunderdome that I wanted to address is like he has all these fucking guns. Like at the beginning of the movie that he drops in like this Indiana Jones scene, like please deposit all your guns, whatever. And then it's like he has a bunch of, there's like 10, 11, 13 guns dropping out of his little sack. And you're like, oh, come on, stop taking the piss. The guns used to be rare in these movies. What the hell?
Yeah.
It used to be something special and impactful and... Because, you never saw them in Mad Max 1 and 2.
Well, I think in 1, they didn't have the budget for it.
No.
Because all they got was, they had a shotgun and a hunting rifle. I think that was like the only 2 guns you see in that movie.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I think we should bring up one thing I like about Mad Max is like they didn't have enough money, so they only have like one souped up car and like these gross like yellow cars, police cars.
Yeah. I always like to say they spent all their cool budget. Like in universe, the police spent all their cool budget on the Interceptor, and and the rest has just literally no cool.
Yeah, I think I mentioned. I think I forgot to mention in the original. My favorite thing about the original Mad Max movie, next to the ending or the story, is the opening police chase, and I love that those 2 bumbling cops keep crashing. So I love this idea of a car crash and they keep trying to get it running.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's a detail that I really like.
Yeah,
that more movies did.
Yeah. I mean, okay, when we talk about details in movies, how do you think about gasoline and fuel in Mad Max?
The game?
No, the entire thing. The entire thing.
The fact that they're driving the least fuel efficient cars ever?
No, the fact that there's even still fuel around.
Oh.
What are your thoughts on that?
I like to imagine that they would be smart enough to use different sources of it, like how in a quote unquote Thunderdome they use methane for gas. So I like to imagine that you have different alternatives to it, not just regular old gasoline, as they call it in Fury Road.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like to me, I think this strikes me as a world unlike Fallout 4, where they're actually capable of coming up with their own fuels.
Yeah.
Different types of fuels.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They have like these. Yeah, they have the refineries. You have like Gas Town.
Which that reminds me, I feel like we should have brought it up when we were talking about like the Edge. What I liked about the Mad Max game is, unlike a settlement in Fallout where it's like, oh, isn't this cute? We got this settlement. You go to fucking Gas Town and it's like, this is the most horrifying place ever.
Yeah.
Where they like, you read the in-game description, they talk about how even this is like one of the few settlements. It's a shithole to actually be in.
Yeah, it's like indentured servitude or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And it's like the fact of being killed or raped is just as likely as in the wasteland as being in this town.
Yeah. And let
And
me
that's what,
just
yeah.
okay, actually go on, go on.
Yeah, and that's what made it so fascinating is that edge that we are talking about. Like, you read the descriptions and like, and what I liked about the game is like how people felt like they're using everything to the thing. Like they even like there's a scene where Max is like, oh, they're using the skin to make leather,
Mm.
and like it feels like nothing's going to waste, even though freaking gas is plentiful and everything explodes. But I digress. But still, like it feels like everything's being used while in Fallout. It's like, hey, look, we got this zany robot that makes noodles or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's cute. Like I think we were describing
Yeah,
it like
it's
it makes it feel
cute.
cute.
Yeah. It's cute. You have your little bubble cars that shouldn't even exist in North America in the 50s because that was a European thing because fucking we didn't have any money. We didn't have any fucking our plane manufacturers here in Germany weren't fucking allowed to build planes, so they just built these bubble cars instead.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they exist in North America in the 50s. They aren't particularly efficient compared to like a regular small car. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think and there's some other stuff like I kind of remember like like from the movies and stuff that we
Hmm.
haven't covered yet. And like I think the thing I really want to bring about the game because like the things I don't like is obviously the minesweeper
Yeah.
shit is the most boring thing in the game,
Hmm.
and the story's lackluster. But like my favorite thing in the game is the fucking convoys, which is the most fun you can
Yeah.
have. But I think you become too overpowered that you can finish a
Yeah.
convoy in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, you can finish a convoy in 2 fucking seconds.
Mm.
Did it,
Yep,
did
this
it,
was a rubber
do
duck here.
Yeah.
That's so
We're
funny.
gonna
That
hunting
song
bear.
is about
Yeah.
that song is about the gas shortages of 1973. Ironically enough,
Looks
but
like we got ourselves a convoy.
and yeah, like I said, I think like I said, the game just I like how it just feels like it just hits hard. Like when you're in the
Uh,
like when you actually use like the quote unquote grinding or the RAM, it's so satisfying. You hear all
yeah.
these sparks and shit fly off. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
So it's really nice. It's really fucking nice.
And what was it? I think the worst part about this game is it does that thing that I hate about what a lot of open
Mm.
world games do. It's like here's all this shit to unlock when you complete it, and
Yeah.
now you got all this cool shit unlocked, and there's nothing to do in the open world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can't like it's not like Far Cry or something that where you can just reset everything.
Yeah, it's a catch-22.
Mm-hmm. So like that, I think to me that's the biggest gripe of the Mad Max game is
Yeah.
you can't unlock it. There's no new game plus or anything.
Yeah. Why would you want to go and unlock everything if you unlocking everything means that you can't use anything? You
Mm-hmm.
can't use any of these unlocks. Is that a catch
Yeah,
twenty
because like
two?
the
Could that
best,
be described as a catch
pretty
22?
much.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because we talked about the best unlocks are all come from when you get an entire territory to
Yeah.
zero,
Mm.
and it's like by then it's like what the fuck do you
There's
need
no
it for? You already
threat.
completed
There's
the
no
area.
threat. Yeah.
Which I think I talked about, like, because the best thing about the game is where you
Mm.
find the car bodies, you actually find it in the world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everything else, you use your scrap and lowering the threat the threat territory. So it would have been nice if you found all that shit in world, not just
Yeah. Yeah.
unlock
If you
it.
found it like in car bodies or like you, like there's this one mission, for example. Yeah. If you could actually if you could actually salvage the car bodies for like different parts, like different. There was this one game called My Summer Car or whatever, or like even Jalopy that had something like this, and that's literally one of my my favorite features from some of those things where you can literally buy a better engine, or like can find like on an old Trabant that you find on your way. You can have like better tires or like better spark plugs or something like that. You can just find that in the world, and I wish this was also in this game, but yeah, this is one mission that has the closest thing that it has to that. Isn't that mission where it's like, yeah, you get like a photo and like this woman tells you, oh, here are the best ties in this building, and then when you actually go to that location, it's like it's just a ruin.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally, you find the best fucking tires in the game there, and it's weird because
Mm-hmm.
they're completely flat racing tires.
Yep.
They have like, the best
But
grip and handling.
Yeah. Though, despite
Mm,
finding it in a freaking ruined gas station, that's still one of my favorite moments in the entire game. Is you find fucking tires, and I never felt so happy.
yeah, yeah. And it's not a
And
gas station. It's a tire shop.
yeah,
Fucking
out by the
Luigi's.
highway.
Yeah, it's fucking Luigi's from Cars.
Hmm.
I don't know why.
I could I could just imagine how hardcore the Cars Mad Max would be. So like
uh,
them stealing gas is like cannibalism.
yeah.
They're like the buzzards, but not really.
Yeah, fucking life fluid, literally.
Hmm.
Oh,
That reminds me because it's
yeah.
like they steal gas and they drink gas. So technically, gas is like piss, and then that almost makes me think of Waterworld where they drink their own piss because they have
What?
to like they piss
Huh?
into like a thing that like filtrates it
How
in
is
that filtrates
how's
it
the
into.
oil piss? How's the oil piss for
I don't
cars?
know. It's a car. Well, don't you remember in the movie Cars they have like a what looks like a diner or like a like a stop and go or
Yeah.
whatever, and they drink it like through a straw like it's a drink.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they drink it, but is it kind of like piss?
It's waste oil, I guess.
I don't know.
Let's not
Cars
get
doesn't make sense. They also
no.
got
I'm just gonna veto all of this. I'm not gonna have this into a
oh.
discussion of like let's discuss the logistics of the Cars universe. I heard this so many times that people have been doing this, and I've fallen into that trap so many times myself. But it's
Oh.
such a stupid fucking world. It's like it makes you actively question like how does this work? But no. It just has no logic. It's like everything people nowadays hate. It's like world without a complete logic, but that's just what it expects from you because it's a Pixar movie, so you have to definitely expect something from
Mhm.
it. You expect something more from it, something that's family friendly. But when you're actually adults, like that franchise is like that's not. You just overanalyze it because it's like, why the fuck are they talking cars in my Pixar movie?
Yeah. I don't know. The reason why I brought it up is because I want to
Mm.
talk about the stupid P from Waterworld. That's the only reason why I brought it up.
Yeah, well, cars don't make gasoline, so
I don't know. Mm.
they can't drink oil and then make gasoline off of that. So what and piss gasoline naturally. And if I had to bring up another thing, I remember telling you that every time I fucking unlocked something in that game, it's literally made me feel like I'm about to fucking break out into a Grease style fucking Greased Lightning musical number. It makes me feel like one of the gay guys from there.
Hmm.
Like fucking okay.
With your road leathers and
Yes,
everything.
fucking go Grease Lightning, you're burning up the coat of my. And then I just imagine fucking Mad Max fucking in the car, and then literally all the fucking villains and shit, like um Chum Bucket is like they all fucking stand on the hood and do all the dance moves, and then just Max just drives the car full on, like, and they all like either die or fall off.
Hmm. It's funny. This whole time we're talking about the game,
uh,
we never once brought up Chum Bucket
yeah.
till
He's the
now.
he's the mechanic you meet. He's basically he's an okay companion character that's basically in the car that you drive. He's basically this guy, um, this guy right here that you're seeing on like the back end of the car. And he's basically the mechanic. He's basically the auto repair function. He has a bit of a character. He's not too annoying, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, standable.
Yeah.
I think what's funny, because I think I mentioned it, it's like, obviously they got the main antagonist is Lord Scrotus, but, coming off Fury Road, I don't think Immortan Joe would ever put someone like Scrotus in charge of Gastown.
Yeah.
Because, obviously in Fury Road, you got the People Eater, which is that big fat guy with all the tumors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another nice thing, and he actually has a fucking Mauser C96 pistol, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's just a nice touch.
All the guns, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think I don't know, like. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to think of, but I can't remember because I know we
Yeah,
talked a lot about this stuff off camera or off stream. So it's like trying to
yeah,
basically we're trying to recreate conversations we've already had on
yeah,
stream.
yeah. And I think we've been a bit successful so far.
It
But
did pretty good. I feel
yeah,
like we blew right through Mad Max too quickly, but then we kind of went back to it and kind of resolved it a little bit more.
yeah. I think it's natural because Mad Max is a movie that you can just kind of talk about retrospectively.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, there's an actual achievement that like calls back to the halls of justice. You know, this kind of rundown police place.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an achievement, and that kind of made me smile. That they didn't. That they that they still call back to this random movie from like 1979, and it's still being relevant today. It's actually amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, no, when you
I
look
think
at certain decades, when you look at certain decades, you have just these things that completely fall off the radar, and we just say, "Oh God, that's so tacky. Why was this ever a thing?" But it's
mm-hmm.
nice to see that this isn't one of them. That Mad Max isn't one of them. Like the original, not the
Mm-hmm.
franchise, just the original.
Yeah. I think what's really fascinating about the game, and they kind of mention it when you pick up the relics, and I think it's kind of an interesting detail is how they mention, like, with everything falling apart, they talk about how the MPs are going around shooting people.
Yeah, MPs. Isn't
And,
that
you
just
think of,
isn't that
yeah,
just literally ministers of parliament?
I think, no, they just call them the MPs. I think that just means short for military police.
Oh yeah, because it's
Because,
really stupid. Because I've heard so much Brexit stuff now that I
mm-hmm,
can't like. For me, to me, MPs was also always something military based. Like either it was a machine pistol, like the
mm-hmm,
MP40 or whatever, or it was literally military police.
yeah.
But the English
And,
fucking
like,
had like ministers of parliament. It's like, why don't you just call them the parliament ministers?
mm-hmm.
Like,
I
do
know, it's just the name.
you not have a
And because,
military
like,
police?
yeah, we got military
No,
police
like no,
or
like
people
no,
who,
like you. This was a rhetorical question to all the English
oh, I
people.
don't know. I don't know. Ask them. Ask nobody who's left a comment yet, besides that one person. But
Yeah.
but I don't know, I think because harking back, because
Mm,
like the thing over they mentioned the MPs were killing people is when you go back to the movie when
yeah.
things are falling apart, where the chief was like, as long as the paperwork's clean, you can do whatever you want out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
which is a really fascinating detail, which kind of makes sense why they're acting like such
Yeah.
jackasses when everything was falling apart.
Yeah.
And then they eventually became the bandits and shit on the road. Like I
Mm,
said, that's such a fascinating detail that I can't think of
yeah.
any other media that really does that.
Yeah. It feels like it was a vision.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely wasn't just a movie. It was a vision for this world that's just kind of lays dormant in between the movies, but then just you read up on it, and it's just so wonderful.
Kind of like how, like, like in the Road Warrior, where the was it the Marauders that are former cops, and how they're kind
Yeah.
of like mirror how they
Mm,
kind of mirror what Max could be.
yeah. And I think like wasn't it like planned that the police guy from the first movie, like the big police guy, was supposed to be um like Lord Humongous. Well, it was supposed to be planned, but then they
Uh,
dropped it early.
in the early draft, it was mentioned that it was supposed to be Goose, but they scrapped it early in
Yeah,
development. Who was for context, Goose was the Mad Max was Max's friend on the motorcycle.
yeah.
He was like a motorcycle police
Mm,
that got ran off the road by the main antagonist gang and like kind of like got burned all over.
yeah,
Which is kind of fascinating. They never state if he's dead or not, and that's what kind of made it interesting.
yeah.
Because all they said was he just burned horribly. Like they never said he's
Mm,
like he's dead or anything. And Max kind of like goes like wide eyed,
yeah.
and he's like, "I got to get out of here."
That's a disclaimer. It's just I have to put in for all the people wanting to get into Mad Max. You have to read up on a lot of shit if you like this franchise to really get the context of everything. But when you actually do it just kind of makes me feel like, yeah, this world makes sense. So don't think like if you watch the movies and you're saying why the fuck is it like that, and like, hey, this is what they say never comes up. Just read the wiki if you like this. You never actually
Which is
think
kind of
about.
funny.
Never
The
actually.
wikis are
You should never
the
actually
wikis.
think about these things. You should never actually think about these things while watching the movie. Just kind of look at it. You should think about these things in retrospective. So I guess I'm sorry.
Yeah. Which is funny because you bring up the wiki, but it's not like a freaking 500-page wiki. Like the wikis are really short for a lot of these characters because there's just enough
Yeah.
information to go off of them.
Yeah. It's not a deep world, but it's a world that makes sense. It's a world you have to experience, then read up on, and then reflect on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you don't really have to. Okay, you do have to read up on them to get the full context, but in order to get what we're talking about, to get on, to get on our level, but technically you don't need to if you just want to watch the movies. But if you want to really get the movies to their fullest, I think you do need to read up. And it's not a difficult task because once again it's not a deep universe, but it's a universe that has just a unique way of delivery that's really good.
Yeah. Which I guess the one thing I wanted to ask you, which I don't know if we really talked about or not on the stream, was how now you get a lot of the references and stuff now that you watched all the movies and how much media is borrowed from it.
Yeah.
Like how much, like especially Fallout, like the aesthetic and how much
Yeah.
it's borrowed from the Mad Max.
Yeah, yeah, like they still have the fucking road leathers in Fallout 4. They still look like Mad Max's outfit. I think that's one of the few outfits that actually is like gender specific. Like you can't like the road leathers for like the female models look different than the ones for the male models, which is kind of disappointing because that's literally not how any of the other clothing works. But yeah, that's the Fallout has like definitely a lot of the fucking aesthetics. Like it's not always the same, but it's just a lot. Like Fallout 1 stole a lot of the backstory, stole a lot of the visual design from Thunderdome, which isn't bad because that has a very unique aesthetic, even though the storytelling is kind of shit. But then you have like you have always the omniprevalent dog character, which is like it's like modeled after the dog character from Road Warrior, and yeah, I still don't like that that Fallout 4 has in him like being a German Shepherd because that makes no sense in universe. Why the fuck would they still breed German Shepherds? Like literally picture perfect German Shepherds? Are you fucking shitting me? That's what pisses me off.
But you gotta have an iconic dog. What the hell was
Yeah.
the species of dog in Fallout 3? Dog meat. He's always been in all the Fallout
Supposed to be
games, or
like
the
a
name.
Australian Shepherd, I guess, but it was more of like a weird grey thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so noticeable with the dog because it's like way better and way more believably animated than any of the other characters in any of the human characters because they actually took the time to motion cap a dog or something.
Yeah. The only other character that has really good animation is the first time you meet Piper. She's like, "Whoa, what's this
Yeah,
fucking animation from another game?" And
yeah,
then she defaults to shit animation.
yeah. Oh, great! We talked about Fallout again. As you said,
Yep,
this
Fallout.
is our fucking Fallout Bioshock podcast. It may say the Panthcast, but in secret, it's always going to be the Fallout and Bioshock podcast.
Pretty much. We'll bring it up every time. Maybe occasional German something.
Anytime, do. Where do. Oh no.
So, long story short, you think Mad Max is good?
Yeah, I don't even need to fucking take a pause to say that Mad Max is a good franchise. It's solid. It's not. It doesn't have a Star Wars expanded universe. It just has a bit of fun on the side. It has a nice watchable canon. But honestly, either you like Thunderdome or not. That's really up to you. But if you like the first two or Fury Road, like Thunderdome was gonna be the fucking. It's gonna be the least like that, and also kind of like the least likable by those standards.
Yep. Well, I guess time will only tell if we'll get another movie from him because George Miller was like, "Yeah, we got enough material to make 2
Yeah.
more movies, but that's if the freaking Warner Brothers don't screw him out of it." So
Um,
time will tell if we'll get something
it's
else.
Warner Brothers. Warner
Hmm.
Brothers.
Which I think that's the thing we should bring up. The thing that amazes me about the fucking game is that it doesn't have microtransactions.
Yeah.
Because it screams like it would have. If it came out a year later, it
Yeah.
would have had that.
It would have had
Like
that,
fucking Shadow
definitely.
of War.
Yeah. It really seems like it's set up for a lot of that shit, and sometimes you even fucking think to yourself, like, wow, I guess it would come into my realm of consideration if I actually buy this. Just because when you get one scrap in this game, it's so fucking frustrating that you might as well just fucking fork over $5 or like 2,000
Hmm.
scrap.
Like yeah, like the way the system is designed, it felt like it should have had that.
Yeah,
Pay $5 to get 1,000 scrap or some shit like that.
it's Ubisoft. It's Ubisoft.
Hmm. All the shit they put into Shadow of War before they took it
Far
out.
Cry 5. Yeah.
Which that's funny. We should bring up that like this game has
Yeah.
virtually no DLC besides the Rockstar
What? Oh.
shit and like a car on
Huh?
PC.
Yeah, yeah, right. I was actually thinking you were gonna say, "Oh, we're gonna need to bring up Far Cry 5 because that is kind of a shit post-apocalypse because it's like all pink
Mm,
and you're
yeah.
wondering why." It's kind of like how they shifted from like believable leather and kind of rundown cars, souped up rundown cars, to like random magenta and pink and bright colors.
Because like, where do we go with the series? It's almost
Yeah.
like Far Cry Blood Dragon doesn't wait for a sequel, but I guess nobody cares about that.
I think a lot of people care about that. I didn't like Far Cry Blood Dragon. I mean, I like the theme, but I don't like the way it plays.
Yeah, I think it's more of like, we don't have enough money
Yeah.
to make a brand new game, so let's just slap Far Cry 3 with an
Mm,
80. Like, I
yeah.
think if they made it a full game, they could have did something cool with it, but
Yeah, they
because
could
nobody
have.
wants to
Yeah.
acknowledge it, it's not going to happen.
Well, they did
Like
have a
shit,
fucking Trials expansion pack.
yeah, that's the closest you'll ever get to a fucking sequel for that
Yeah.
game, which is embarrassing. That's like oh, never mind, that already happened. I was going to say that'd be like if Fallout had a story attached to a mobile game,
What
but they
do you
kind of
mean?
already happens.
Fallout 76
Fallout
or
Shelter.
Fallout Shelter, Fallout Shelter. Yeah, it's a weird name. Like, it makes sense, but when you say it like that, it's just weird. It's like Fallout Shelter. It's like Bioshock Infinite. You don't say Bioshock Infinite. You say Bioshock Infinite.
Bio
You don't say
Infinite
you
2.
don't say Fallout Shelter. You say Fallout Shelter
Mm-hmm.
because it's Fallout written small shelter. Well, it's okay. It's not actually
Fall.
Fallout. It's not worth being a Fallout game, but it's the way you read it. It's like sort of Fallout, but not really. Honest to shit, there's still people making reaction videos to the Nostalgia Critic Fury Road video.
Really?
Yeah,
That
here's
review's like 4 years old
yeah,
or
it's like
3 years old.
a guy makes a reaction video like 1 month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Here's like a guy doing it. Here's a guy with a weird Sonic OC, like a Kimba the Lion Sonic OC, fucking 10 months ago. And you're just like, what?
Mm-hmm. Well, could you say we technically did a reaction video to the Fury Road review?
No. First of all, it's not a review. Second of all, we didn't. We really just talked about it.
I don't know. Seemed like a reaction to me.
Yeah, I guess it's technically a reaction, but it's not a reaction video. Most of all, because this is not a video, this is a live stream. Well, like a
Oh.
pet podcast, live podcast. Maybe I should just release these. Maybe we should just talk in private and just then I should edit it. But no, I hate fucking audio editing, so I'm not gonna do that
Mm-hmm.
yet.
Do it live.
Yeah, let's do it live. Fuck, let's do it live. Look at we're doing it live. Nowadays, fucking YouTube is telling me, "Hey, is this thing made for children?" And I'm like, "No."
No. Well, then you're banned.
It's like,
I wonder how that's gonna actually work. I think I listened to a podcast and they best described it as they don't actually have enough money to fully
yeah,
enforce it. So what they do
yeah,
is they're gonna go down really hard on like a couple of famous people and
yeah,
then kind of give up afterwards.
yeah, exactly. It's just, well, maybe they're gonna implement another shit thing to the algorithm. Oh god, I feel we could already fucking we could already fucking discuss fucking Google Stadia when we're talking about shit Google messed up.
Oh yeah,
Hmm. Oh.
I don't know. Did you read about this sounds like something the Onion would have written. Google was like they have their head up so far up their ass and thinking that they're making this revolutionary system. They had this article where it's like Stadia wants to be not progressive, but wants to target
The
female
gender
audiences with
progressive
traditional game.
controller. Gender
Yeah,
progressive
so we
controller,
want to create a
yeah.
gender neutral controller with the color scheme of black and white and wasabi.
Oh, sure, wank off the Japanese.
Yep. But the part that gets me
Uh,
is like gender neutral of black and white. I'm like, every console's been that
yeah,
fucking color. Like
yeah.
how out of touch do they have to be
Yeah.
to write that?
Honestly, I would say like making it wasabi colored is like if a Japanese company made it like red, white, and blue, but that probably already exists.
That already exists.
Yeah. Then when are we gonna get our black, white, and red controller? When are we getting our fucking black, yellow, black, red, yellow controller? Come on. If you're gonna wank off a country, at least wank off my access country.
I don't know. It's not like you can get a custom made controller.
Actually, I think you can. Can you get a custom? I think I've heard something about getting custom made Xbox controllers.
Yep, they have them all over the place, and you can either get them official or have somebody make them for you because they're just shells. They're not that hard to make.
Yeah, they are.
Like if you wanted your console kings weed controllers, you can have that shit made
Yeah.
for you.
Ooh, you can actually design one. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Like that's been a feature for as long as I can remember.
Oh, and it's like camo. It's like you can only do certain patterns. That's this kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like body blue shell. You have like fucking bronze and bumpers. Oh, you can only like design certain aspects of it, or like you can only have certain colors in certain regions. That's kind of disappointing. Like engraving menu is like, oh, it's just these things. This disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel like Stadia is gonna be around for like maybe 6 more months and then it's dead in the water.
You think it's gonna last 6 more months? You are
Yeah,
optimistic. You're feeling
they're gonna.
optimistic today.
That's me being optimistic, but I don't know. I feel like Google because I think there's a really good list of the amount of shit Google's made and let it die. So this isn't exactly anything different. It's just more high profile.
I suppose, yeah.
Like Google Stadia makes the fucking Ouya look like a success.
Yeah, it does. It fucking does, doesn't it? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Rubberized grips. Ooh. Well, you can't actually make it that in depth.
Mm-hmm. I still think it's funny that the best review of that is that GIF from the Wall Street Journal or like whatever. He just did a GIF of like pressing like a spacebar on the keyboard, looks at the camera, then the character finally jumps. Like that sums up fucking
Yeah.
Stadia in a nutshell.
Yeah. Did you get your
Because I think the big concern is like no game developers wants to touch it because they're like this
Oh.
thing may not exist.
Yeah, this thing only exists in a weird shadow realm.
Mm-hmm. And then again, almost all the games are like fucking been out for years, so it's not like it's any exclusive titles.
Yeah. Okay, I think there was one exclusive title that sounds like I don't know. I don't even remember. I think one thing was there, or maybe I'm confusing that with the weird xCloud thing. By the way, literally, there's a Kimber the Lion Sonic OC in one reaction video, for fuck's sake. The hell?
Which I
Yeah.
have to ask because I'm curious, even though it's not going to amount to anything. I was, those stupid videos from Dingo Entertainment to making the rounds. How do you feel that Germany is responsible for making those fucking videos?
Mm.
Those rip-off Disney, poorly animated fucking videos from the early 90s, 2000s.
Well,
Like, this is
well,
the
that's
height of
some.
German animation, I guess? I don't know.
No, no, no. That's not the height of German animation. That's just like we had some bullshit fucking shitty. Also, by the way, this time you brought up Germany. It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
But um, yeah, we had this weird export movie about like the fucking city musicians of Bremen or whatever the fuck the English name for it is, and it was this really thing. It was like it was animated in English because they wanted to have it like be popular in English countries. They wanted to have it distributed by Warner Brothers, but then Warner Brothers just fucked them up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's like it just like you couldn't watch that fucking thing. You couldn't watch that fucking thing even though it has like good animation. Like, it's so disappointing. It's like that's what you get when you try to fucking have a what's up with the thumbnail? Huh? What's up with my thumbnail? It's still the fucking Fallout 76 thing. What the
Really?
Yeah.
I'm looking at your Mad Max thumbnail, unless you got something else.
I don't know, maybe I'm just No, I mean the thumbnail for the stream, it's still the fucking Fallout 76 one. It's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
On YouTube, I see it's the Mad Max. I still think you should call it the Panthcast with friends.
And now I have the new. Yeah, new thumbnail, I guess. Right. Right.
So you think you got everything you wanted to say about the madness of
Yeah.
Maximilian? Out.
Yeah, the mentally unstable, mentally insane Maximilian, yeah.
Is there anything else you felt like talking about for this stream, or you think you've nailed it?
Well,
What you wanted to talk about?
Well, what are your final thoughts on Mad Max?
It's good.
Yeah.
It lives up to its hype, except Thunderdome.
Yeah.
But then again, though, the reason
Yeah.
why I make fun of it is because like I said, I saw it at
Yeah.
the same time as you for the first time
Yeah.
because I've always heard skip it, and I always
Yeah.
did. And like, I'm pretty sure if I saw it as a kid, I would like it. But to me, it's like it's an entertaining movie, but it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but Fury Road, I think to me, like I said, to me, if I were to list it, original Mad Max and Fury Road are my top five,
Yeah.
top favorite.
I'd say the
Even though the
original.
Road Warrior is good.
Yeah, I'd say the original, then the first bit of Road Warrior, and then Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
Road Warrior as a whole is good, but it just like like a lot of Road Warrior comes in my terms of favorites like after Fury Road. So I'm gonna say the first bit when it's like full on Mad Max classic mode. That's when it's kind of my second favorite, but then a lot of that shit is just my fourth. But it's still a good movie. You should still watch Road Warrior. Just decide for yourself.
It's still a good movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I hope everybody fucking listen to all of this.
Maybe you might get one person to listen to it.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people I've seen last time listened to the last podcast. I don't know how it is now, but yeah, like 40
Don't you have like a
people.
billion? Don't you have like a billion statistics that like tell you where people stop watching?
Whatever. It's a billion statistics, but at the same time, it's Google. So what's the failure? So what is actually the failure rate for? Like I think the accuracy actually becomes better with the more people actually watching because it is in the algorithm. I think calculates better in bigger numbers. So yeah, everybody
Mm.
subscribe to like and subscribe to make my numbers bigger so that Google can better calculate it.
Big numbers for big
Yeah,
boys.
yeah. This is numbers, Mason.
What does he mean?
Yeah. I hope everybody had fun. Honestly, come on, say goodbye, Daniel.
Bye, folks.
Wa da 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 da. Wa da 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 da. What is Warner Brothers property? Da 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 da. Wa da 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 da.